He brought a general back from the brink of death, and the man thanked him by stabbing a sword straight through his heart. Will was the greatest healer in history, tasked with keeping humanity alive during the apocalypse. But in the end, he realized that standing in the back lines only made him a spectator to his own extinction. So when fate sends him back 5 years into the past, he decides to quit his job as a support. He is going to enroll in the most prestigious combat academy to prove that the scariest person on the battlefield isn't the mage throwing fireballs, but the healer who refuses to let you die. Let's see how a support class takes over the world. We open on a literal hellscape. The red sky matches the blood-soaked ground of humanity's last stand, and it looks like the end of the world. Honestly, things are not looking great for the home team. Monsters are swarming the gates, and these are not your average goblins. We're talking massive beasts that look like they eat armor for breakfast. A handful of survivors are all that's left standing between humanity and a very messy extinction. The soldiers on the front lines have definitely seen better days. They look completely drained as they try to scrape together some last bit of hope, but it's hard to keep fighting when reality is literally trampling you into the dirt. One young soldier looks totally shell-shocked, staring into the distance with eyes that have seen way too much. You can tell he's just waiting for the end to finally come. Then, just when you thought things couldn't get worse, dragons decide to join the party and turn the entire city into a bonfire. This isn't just a battle, it's a complete wipeout. A massive pillar of fire comes crashing down, signaling that the final defense is probably toast. The sound effects alone tell you that whatever just happened was loud and very permanent. The walls finally crumble under the sheer force of the attack, falling apart like they were made of paper. If there was any doubt before, it's gone now. The city is falling. Enter the big bads, including a minotaur-looking dude who's just standing there like he owns the place while his buddies clean up. The eerie blue and purple lighting gives this whole scene a hopeless vibe. This monster is literally holding a soldier in his hand like a snack, just to show off how big the power gap is. Talk about a bad day at the office for that poor guy. The narration pulls no punches, telling us that an unavoidable fate is closing in right before our eyes. It's the kind of text that basically says, everyone is doomed. Blood is everywhere as soldiers are cut down in the background while one survivor slumps against a wall. This is as grim as it gets, folks, and this is just the beginning. Fire is consuming everything in sight, and the text confirms what we're all thinking. We're looking at the extinction of humanity. Talk about a cheery start to the story. Switching perspectives, we see a cathedral that's been turned into a makeshift hospital, and someone is desperately shouting for the next person. Even in the middle of a literal apocalypse, the medical staff is working overtime. Inside, it's a grim scene with rows of wounded soldiers lying on the floor, covered in bandages and blood. It's basically a meat grinder in here. We finally meet our protagonist, a healer with black hair who's working his magic on a wounded soldier. He looks exhausted, but he's not stopping for anything. He yells out for more wounded, determined to heal everyone he can, even as the world falls apart around him. This guy's got some serious dedication, that's for sure. We learn his name is Master Will, and things are getting desperate because the gates are about to fall. His assistants are practically begging him to get out of there, but he's not moving an inch. Another soldier warns Will that a healer of his skill level shouldn't be anywhere near the front lines. Usually, that's good advice, but Will clearly isn't interested in playing it safe. Will snaps back, asking if they really expect him to just abandon everyone while they're dying. He's got that classic protagonist hero complex in full swing right now. He grits his teeth, telling himself that as long as he keeps healing them, humanity won't perish. It's a nice thought, but man, the odds are really stacked against him. We see a brief flashback of a dying knight who placed all her hope in Will's power. It's clear this weight on his shoulders isn't new. He's been the chosen healer for a while. A mentor figure appears in his memory, officially crowning him as the world's greatest healer. No pressure, right? Just the fate of the entire world on your back. Back in the present, Will looks up, startled by someone entering the room in a hurry. You can see the sweat on his face. The stress is definitely getting to him. A group of soldiers rushes in, frantically searching for Master Will because they brought in someone important. The panic in the air is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Two soldiers are supporting a gray-haired general who's covered in blood and looking pretty rough. If the general is down, you know the battle is going south fast. They lay him down on the floor, desperately asking Will if there's any hope of saving him. It's a Hail Mary play at this point. Will doesn't hesitate for a second, placing his hands on the general and promising to save him. He's powering up his magic, and the glow is getting intense. Little did he know, this decision would change everything. He shouts that this is exactly why he's here, looking like he's about to dump every last bit of mana he has into this one guy. Talk about a dramatic entrance for a healer. He unleashes a massive burst of green healing magic that completely lights up the room. It's so powerful, it's literally blowing the nearby soldiers back. The light show continues as Will pushes his limits, his magic swirling around the general in a vortex of energy. This isn't just a bandage, this is a full-on resurrection attempt. We get a close-up of the general's mangled arm, and the magic is literally stitching the flesh and bone back together. It's super gross, but also incredibly impressive. The hand is fully restored, looking brand new despite being a mess just a second ago. That's some S-rank healing right there, no doubt about it. The magic finally settles, leaving Will standing over the general while everyone else watches in stunned silence. He actually pulled it off. The general's eyes snap open, and he looks up at Will, but he doesn't exactly look grateful. His expression is weirdly cold for someone who just got brought back from the brink of death. Will helps the general sit up, giving him a confident smile like he's got his back. He thinks he's just saved the day and turned the tide of the war. Will gives a big speech about how he'll heal anyone, no matter how badly they're hurt, and starts talking about humanity's victory. He's really feeling himself right now. The general just stares at his own hand, his face darkening with a look of pure misery. This is definitely not the reaction Will was expecting. His eye starts twitching, and you can see the sheer rage boiling up inside him. Something is about to go very, very wrong. And there it is. The general just clocks Will right in the face with a massive punch. What a way to say thank you for saving my life, man. But things are about to get worse. Will is sent flying, looking completely bewildered as he touches his face and asks why. Honestly, I'm with him. That was a bit uncalled for. The other soldiers are losing their minds, shouting at the general and asking what the heck he's doing. Everyone is confused, and for good reason. The general screams for them to shut up, his face looking absolutely demonic with glowing green eyes. He's reached his breaking point, and it's not pretty. He draws his sword, and it's clear he's not just angry, he's looking to finish what the monster started. Will is in some serious trouble now. Will is cowering on the floor, staring up at the man he just saved who's now pointing a sword at his throat. Talk about a major betrayal. The general actually stabs Will right through the chest. He's literally killing the person who just saved him. This guy is absolutely unhinged. He gets right in Will's face, asking if it was his arm that Will healed. He's rambling about how unnecessary it was, and he looks completely gone. He starts shouting about the despair of facing those monsters over and over again. He's basically saying that by healing them, Will is just sending them back into a meat grinder they want to escape. The general rants about how many more limbs they have to lose before Will lets them just die in peace. It's a dark perspective, but you can see where he's coming from. He yells that everyone feels the same, and that they don't want to fight anymore. He's essentially speaking for an entire army of people who are just tired of suffering. Will looks absolutely devastated as the weight of the general's words sinks in. His entire purpose in life has just been called a curse rather than a blessing. We see other soldiers in the background, and they all have the same dead, hollow eyes. They don't look like heroes, they look like walking corpses kept alive by force. And that's when everything changed. A female soldier with a head bandage stares off into space, looking completely broken. It's a powerful shot that backs up everything the general was saying. Will is having a full-on existential crisis, wondering if everything he's done up until now has been completely pointless. His whole world just shattered. The shadow over his face tells the whole story. He's realizing that his healing might have actually been a form of torture for these people. The general tells Will he's done suffering because of him, looking down at his blood-stained blade with zero regret. He's finished with the war, and he's finished with Will. He turns his back on Will and tells him that if he wants to fight, he should do it himself. It's a brutal walk-off line, leaving Will bleeding on the floor. Will tries to argue, shouting that healers can't use offensive magic. It's the ultimate helpless support moment, and he looks desperate. The general walks away without a second look, leaving Will alone in the crumbling room. He tells him that without a healer, this place is doomed, but clearly he doesn't care anymore. Outside, a dragon charges up a massive blast of energy right in its mouth. This looks like the final blow that's going to level the whole fortress. The dragon unleashes the beam, and the explosion is absolutely massive, tearing through the building and lighting up the sky. It's game over for real this time. Debris is falling everywhere as Will sits among the wreckage of the room. He's just waiting for the end now, looking completely defeated in every sense of the word. The general is pinned under a massive boulder, and with his dying breath, he tells Will to run. Even after everything, there's a tiny bit of humanity left in him. Another huge stone pillar falls directly onto the general, crushing him completely. It's a brutal end for a guy who was just done with it all. But fate had other plans. Will watches as the dragon descends through the smoke, its glowing eyes fixed right on him. There's nowhere left to hide. He stares into the flames, finally seeing the true face of the monsters his people were fighting. He looks remarkably calm for someone about to be dragon food. The red dragon roars in his face, looking absolutely terrifying. Will realizes that he was always just watching from the back, never truly understanding the horror of the front lines. Will admits to himself that he was only watching from behind, and you can see the regret in his eyes. He finally understands why the soldiers were so angry at him. He curses his own helplessness, wishing he had fought with his own hands instead of just staying in the rear. That realization came a bit late, buddy. We get a quick flashback of Will as a kid, happily healing a puppy. It's a stark contrast to the bloody nightmare he's currently in. Another memory of him being honored by a king for being the world's greatest healer. All those accolades mean nothing now that he's face to face with a dragon. Will's regret turns into a fierce anger as he screams that he should have fought with his own hands. He's finally found his fighting spirit, even if it's at the very end. He grips a rock so hard his glove starts to strain, pouring all his frustration into it. He's not going down without at least trying to fight back. He stands defiantly before the massive dragon as it opens its mouth to incinerate him. Talk about a David versus Goliath moment, except David has a rock and Goliath is a giant fire-breathing lizard. A white text panel appears with his final thought, wishing he could return to that day. Oh boy, here comes the classic regression trope we all know and love. Will is engulfed in a golden glow as he faces his end, looking like he's transcending. This is definitely some magical time travel stuff happening right now. The dragon snaps its jaws shut, but it looks like Will might have already vanished into the light. Bye-bye, dragon. See you in another timeline. A single red orb floats in a dark void, pulsating with energy. It's very mysterious and definitely signals that things are changing. The red orb is joined by a blue one, and they start swirling together in a cosmic dance. This is the official restarting the universe animation. We see a drop of water falling into a peaceful blue pool, creating ripples. The chaos of the dragon attack is completely gone, replaced by total tranquility. An eye snaps open, looking sharp and alert. Our boy is awake, and he's definitely not in a burning fortress anymore. Will sits up in a nice comfy bed in a bright room. He looks around, clearly confused to see sunlight and green leaves instead of fire and monsters. He takes in his surroundings, realizing he's back in his old room. He mutters to himself, probably trying to figure out if he's dreaming or not. He notices an envelope lying on his desk and moves closer to inspect it. This is usually where the tutorial part of the regression begins. He picks up the envelope and sees it's an admissions guide. If he's seeing this, it means he's gone back to the very beginning of his journey. Will looks into a mirror and touches his face, confirming that he's back in his younger body. He looks a lot less stressed and a lot more like a typical student now. He walks out into the hallway and sees people going about their normal lives. It's a total culture shock after the literal apocalypse he just lived through. And this is just the beginning. He wonders if it's that day from 5 years ago. He's officially narrowed down exactly when he's landed in the past. The narration confirms it. It's the 16th year of the Solstario calendar, the day Will's legend as a healer was supposed to begin. Except this time, he's got other plans. He stands in the middle of a crowd, looking completely out of place as he remembers being killed by the dragon. Everyone else is just living their lives while he's carrying the memories of the future. It's exactly 1 week before he's supposed to enter HEALER Academia, the famous school for healing magic. But you can already see the wheels turning in his head. He looks down at the admission letter, clutching it tightly. He doesn't know how it happened, but he knows he's not going to make the same mistakes again. He remembers his dying wish and grits his teeth, looking absolutely determined. He's done being the passive healer who stays in the back. Will literally crumples up the admission letter for the Healing Academy. That is a huge statement right there. He's throwing away his entire previous life. He looks up with a fierce expression and announces his new path. He's enrolling in Schwartz Academia, the school for offensive magic. This healer is officially switching to a DPS build. In this world, the rules are simple and pretty depressing. If you're a healer, you're stuck in the back lines because healers can't use offensive magic. It's like being forced to play the tutorial for your entire life. But Will isn't about to let some common knowledge stop him from becoming the battle mage he always wanted to be. He's looking at these mages like they're just obstacles he's ready to climb over. He knows it's not going to be an easy road, and there are going to be plenty of walls standing in his way. But hey, if you want to rewrite your destiny, you gotta be ready to break some stuff. Will reflects on his past life where he reached the absolute peak of healing magic. He's basically got an S-rank save file in his head, and he's planning to use every bit of that mastery to change the future. He's standing tall, ready to fight his own past self if that's what it takes to save the world this time around. That glowing green energy is cool and all, but he's looking for something with a bit more firepower. But fate had other plans. Step 1 of the plan. Enroll in Schwartz Academia, the premier school for turning people into human artillery pieces. It looks more like a royal palace than a school, but don't let the fancy architecture fool you. It's a shark tank. Inside the lecture hall, it looks like a typical university setting, but instead of calculus, they're probably learning how to incinerate whole armies. The atmosphere is way more intense than any healing class he's ever seen. The school's tagline is that they can turn anyone into a first-rate offensive mage. Seeing these students summon massive walls of fire just proves that they aren't kidding around with their superior education. Will remembers a legendary figure from his past life who also came from Schwartz. If he wants to reach that level, he's in the right place, even if he's currently the odd man out. He knows that Schwartz's real power comes from closely guarded secrets that they don't just hand out to anyone. He's going to have to be smart if he wants to get his hands on the good stuff. Back in his room, reality starts to set in. No healer has ever even tried to enroll here before. He's basically trying to bring a knife to a gunfight and then asking for a rocket launcher. The narrator mentions that rich nobles often use their wealth to shove their talentless kids into the academy. It's the classic pay-to-win strategy, which makes things even harder for a commoner like Will. Will sighs, wishing he could have brought all his gold from his past life when he was the kingdom's chief healer. Being rich would definitely make this restarting from zero thing a whole lot easier. He looks at the clock, realizing he's running out of time to make it for admission. He needs to stop daydreaming about his old bank account and get moving. Suddenly, someone knocks on his door asking if he's finally awake. Will is just standing there in his casual gear, probably still half lost in his memories. A woman with long brown hair opens the door, looking radiant. Will freezes up like he's just seen a ghost, and honestly, in this timeline, he basically has. It hits him hard. This is his sister, and in this time, she's still alive and well. You can see the pure shock on his face as he realizes he actually has a second chance to protect his family. He quickly tries to play it cool, telling her he just got something in his eye when she asks if he's okay. Smooth move, Will, but I think she knows something is up with that intense staring. The two of them share a nice, wholesome morning moment, and his sister gives him a warm smile. It's a complete 180 from the carnage we saw in the last chapter, and Will looks genuinely happy. But beneath the smile, Will is dead serious. He's looking at her with a look of pure resolve, promising himself that he'll prevent the tragedy that took her away in his past life. His sister is totally confused by his weird vibes, but Will is already miles ahead, thinking about all the people he couldn't save before. He's got that main character determination dialed up to 11 right now. Suddenly, a light bulb goes off in his head and he shouts that he's figured it out. This guy just went from 0 to 60 in about half a second. He grabs her hands and thanks her like she just gave him the winning lottery numbers, leaving her completely baffled. I guess when you have a world-saving epiphany, you don't worry too much about looking like a weirdo. He bolts out the door, shouting that he'll be back soon while his sister yells at him to be home for dinner. Some things never change, even if you're a time-traveling super healer. The narrator introduces us to the Magic Academy Alliance, the big bosses who run the show for all magical education. They look like a bunch of ominous, hooded figures, which is never a good sign in these stories. We see an old man with long white hair staring up at a massive, cathedral-like building. This is Alniram Goldgrun, the chairman of the Alliance and the headmaster of Schwartz, basically the final boss of the school system. Apparently, the big man himself stopped showing up to Alliance meetings, and the reason is kept under wraps. Whenever a powerful old wizard goes MIA, you know there's some serious drama behind it. The scene shifts to a fancy mansion at night, surrounded by an iron gate. This is clearly where the wealthy and powerful hang out, and tonight, it's where our story is heading. Inside, we see the headmaster sitting by a bedside, looking totally exhausted. He's not acting like a powerful chairman right now, he's just a grandfather worried sick. And that's when everything changed. A young blonde girl is lying in bed, looking pale and completely drained. This is clearly the reason why the headmaster has been skipping work. He gently touches her face, and you can see the heartbreak in his eyes. It's a rare, vulnerable moment for a guy who usually runs the entire magical world. He calls out to her, his voice full of despair. The label confirms this is indeed Alniram Goldgrun, the man who holds the keys to Schwartz Academia. He apologizes to her, saying that today's healer just wasn't skilled enough to help. He looks like he's at the end of his rope, desperately searching for a miracle that isn't coming. He sits alone in the dark room, refusing to leave his granddaughter's side. It's a heavy scene that shows just how desperate he's become. A single leaf falls into a void, symbolizing how the healing magic of this era simply wasn't advanced enough to save her. It's a grim way of saying that she's basically doomed by the current state of science. The narration is brutal, simply stating that she died. We see the headmaster slumped over in the dark, looking completely broken by his loss. But then the narration clarifies that's what happened last time. Oh, here we go. Time for Will to swoop in and use his knowledge from the future to change the script. A silhouette suddenly appears in the window, asking if he could handle it. Now that is how you make an entrance, literally crashing through a second-story window to save the day. It's Will, looking super smug as he sits on the windowsill in the middle of the night. The headmaster looks like he's about to have a heart attack from the shock. The headmaster recognizes him as Will, the scholarship student from HEALER, which is the rival healing academy. Will is actually surprised the big boss even knows who he is. Alniram acknowledges Will's fame as a healing prodigy, but has to call him out for breaking into a mansion through a window. Honestly, fair point. There's usually a front door for this kind of thing. Will just laughs it off, thinking to himself that dying once has definitely made him a lot bolder. He's definitely not the same timid student he used to be. The headmaster looks skeptical, pointing out that there really isn't much time left for his granddaughter. He's heard all the promises before, and he's not easily impressed. Will doesn't blink, confidently declaring he can cure her. He's standing there with absolute certainty, ready to show off some 5 years in the future medical tech. Little did he know what was coming next. Alniram gets right in his face, his eyes glowing with suspicion as he asks what he's after. He knows nothing in this world is free, especially a miracle. Will tells him that the price can wait, and begs for permission to treat her immediately. He's all business right now, and you can see the sweat. He knows how close she is to the edge. The two of them share an intense stare-down, measuring each other's resolve. It's a battle of wills before the actual healing even starts. The headmaster finally relents, telling Will to show him what he can do. You can see the doubt in his eyes, but he's desperate enough to try anything at this point. Will takes his place by the bedside, looking ready to perform some S-rank surgery. The headmaster is watching his every move like a hawk, just waiting for a mistake. Will is definitely feeling the heat, with a single drop of sweat rolling down his face. He knows that if he fails here, he's probably not walking out of his mansion alive. He can feel the headmaster's intense stare, noting that the old man looks ready to kill him if anything goes wrong. Talk about a high-stress work environment. Will takes a deep breath and centers himself, looking completely focused. He's about to use a treatment that shouldn't even exist yet. He gently takes the girl's hand, his expression softening as he prepares his magic. It's a delicate moment where one wrong move could be fatal. The green light starts to glow as he channels his mana, looking determined. This is the moment where he proves he's not just any ordinary healer. He unleashes a massive, intricate magic circle, even though he notes that his total power is lower than it used to be. But hey, it's not about how much mana you have, it's how you use it. He identifies the illness as Zora disease, and mentions that the formula to cure it won't be developed for another 2 years. Talk about having a massive unfair advantage over the local doctors. The entire room is filled with a blinding burst of green and white light as the healing process hits its peak. It's like a magical nuke of pure health and restoration. The girl's eyes flutter open, looking clear and alert for the first time in ages. The treatment worked exactly like Will remembered. Will lets out a sigh of relief, leaning back as the glow fades. He actually pulled it off under the scariest boss in the world. Give this man a medal. He gives a classic protagonist smirk, telling her she's fine now with a literal sparkle on his face. This dude knows he just did something legendary, and this is just the beginning. The girl looks up at him with wide, blushing eyes, clearly smitten by the mysterious hero who just saved her life. Will is just happy she's breathing, but I think he might have just started a new side plot. She tries to sit up but still looks a bit shaky, and Will has to tell her to take it easy. He's being a good doctor, making sure she doesn't overdo it after literally coming back from the dead. The headmaster rushes in, looking absolutely stunned as he asks Marie if she's really okay. He's completely dropped the scary boss act and is back to being a worried grandpa. Marie gives him a huge, radiant smile, telling him how good she feels. It's a beautiful moment that completely erases the gloom from the room. The headmaster is speechless, staring at her with tears in his eyes as he realizes his granddaughter is actually saved. Will is just watching from the sidelines, knowing he successfully changed history. Alniram looks over at Will, and the look of pure gratitude on his face is something else. He knows he owes this kid everything. The scene pans out to the peaceful mansion window, showing a quiet moment of happiness after the miracle. Everything is going according to plan so far. The two of them move to the lounge area for a proper talk, and Alniram thanks Will from the bottom of his heart. The atmosphere is way more chill now that the life or death drama is over. He tells Will that if there's anything he can do to repay him, he'll do it without hesitation. Will just casually mentions that his request isn't difficult, which usually means it's going to be something crazy. Will drops some truth bombs, saying his healing is already top class, so he has nothing left to learn at HEALER. He's basically saying he's already beaten the healing game and is looking for a new challenge. He looks Alniram dead in the eye and makes his big request. He wants to enroll in Schwartz Academia. The absolute madman is actually going through with it. Alniram is completely floored, asking why on earth a genius healer would want to go to an offensive magic academy. It's like a world-class chef suddenly deciding they want to be a professional wrestler. Will asks if he understands what that means, looking totally determined. He's not asking for a favor, he's stating his new path in life. The headmaster looks deep into Will's eyes and sees something that shocks him. He realizes there's a level of resolve and experience there that shouldn't belong to a kid his age. He reflects on his own power and position, thinking that maybe all his authority existed just to make this one weird request happen. He's starting to believe in Will's vision. Will gives a confident smile, promising he'll make his enrollment a success. He's ready to prove that a healer can be the strongest person on the battlefield. This decision would change everything. They shake hands on it, and Alnaram officially approves his enrollment into Schwartz. This is a massive turning point. The world's greatest healer is about to become its scariest offensive mage. The handshake is sealed with a glow, marking the start of a legendary new chapter. History has officially been derailed, and things are about to get very interesting. Elsewhere, a dark-haired man in an office is grumbling about that crafty old man, Alniram. It seems like word of Will's outrageous enrollment is already starting to spread among the faculty. A woman with long, dark hair smirks, wondering if a pampered healer can even handle Schwartz's brutal curriculum. Oh lady, you have absolutely no idea what's coming for you. We get a look at Will's profile. He's officially in. His name and type are circled like he's a target. This school year is going to be absolute chaos. It's finally entrance ceremony day at Schwartz Academia, and the place looks even more like a fortress of power in person. Students in crisp blue uniforms are lined up, ready to start their journey into the world of offensive magic. Headmaster Alnaram Goldgrand stands at the podium, looking every bit the legendary mage he is. His presence alone is enough to silence the entire crowd of nervous freshmen. The school is famous for its unique curriculum and top-tier facilities designed to produce the best offensive mages in the kingdom. If you want to blow stuff up, this is officially the Ivy League of Destruction. They've even got a massive multi-level library that probably has every forbidden spellbook known to man. It's an absolute dream for anyone looking to master the arcane arts. With influential alumni and massive support from the kingdom, Schwartz isn't just a school, it's a power player in the world. Being a student here means you're already part of the elite. The headmaster oversees the students, confident that there's no better place for learning how to turn mana into sheer offensive power. It's an environment built for strength, where only the most capable will thrive. Will stands in the crowd, feeling the weight of being the first healer to ever set foot in these halls. He knows a lot of difficulties are coming his way, but he's determined to prove everyone wrong. He remembers the horrors of his past life, specifically that giant dragon's maw that signaled the end of everything. This time, he's going to be the one doing the attacking. Looking sharp in his new uniform, Will declares that he will change his fate right here. He's not just a support character anymore, he's the main DPS now. Fast forward to the first day of actual class, and it's time to put all that talk into action. No more ceremonies, it's training time. Our boy is struggling hard, sweating as he tries to summon even a spark of offensive mana. It turns out that switching classes is a lot harder than just clicking a button in a menu. The instructor, a blue-haired woman with a serious attitude, gives the command to begin. Will is standing in front of a training dummy, and the pressure is absolutely on, but things are about to get worse. Will desperately tries to manifest a fire spell, complete with a fancy magic circle, but instead of a fireball, all he gets are a few weak flickers of orange light. He puts every ounce of his spirit into it, shouting as he tries to force the mana to cooperate. You can see the pure effort on his face, but magic doesn't always care about how loud you yell. His hand is outstretched, but the result is basically just smoke and a tiny poof of sparks. Talk about a massive disappointment for everyone watching. The teacher, Professor Opus, tells him bluntly that he's failed again today, while the other students snicker in the background. Man, high school drama is even worse when people have fireballs. Opus kicks him out of the main class, telling him he can't come back until he can actually blast through a target. He's relegated to the back training grounds like a total outsider. Will is frustrated and asks why she won't just teach him properly instead of sending him away. He's realized that his healing expertise is actually holding him back in the offensive world. Opus looks at him with pure disdain, saying that teaching a healer anything offensive would be a total waste of time. She's definitely not winning any Teacher of the Year awards with that attitude. She even kicks him out of the library line, claiming they don't have books for people like him. The gatekeeping in the school is absolutely insane. Behind him, a blonde student with a punchable face is smirking like he's already won. You just know this guy is going to be the main bully of this arc. The blonde dude blasts Will from behind with a fire spell, shouting that he's in the way. That's a total coward move, but in this school, might makes right. Will goes flying and faceplants right into the dirt. Welcome to Schwartz Academia, where the floors are hard and the classmates are jerks. The bully just laughs at him, mocking him for not even being able to dodge a simple attack. Our protagonist is at his lowest point right now. He keeps talking trash, telling Will that there's no place here for a weakling who can't even use basic combat magic. His friends in the back are clearly enjoying the show. He doubles down, telling Will it's his own fault for getting hit because he's too slow. The logic of a bully is always the same: blame the victim. The professor and the bully basically team up to mock him, suggesting he should have just stayed at a healing academy where it's safe. The level of disrespect is off the charts. The blonde guy is literally cackling now, enjoying the fact that he can bully the scholarship prodigy without any consequences. This guy is definitely going on the revenge list. He tells Will to go back and let some gentle healers comfort him, implying he's too soft for the real world. Will is just taking it for now, but you can see the fire starting to build in his eyes. Night falls over the campus, and Will is left alone at the training grounds, letting out a long, tired sigh. It's been a rough first day, to say the least. Staring at his hands in the dark, Will realizes there's still no sign of offensive magic manifesting. His body is so used to healing that it's literally rejecting his new commands. He knew this would be a struggle, but reality is hitting him like a ton of bricks. It turns out being the world's best healer might actually be a handicap for a mage. The narration explains that healing and offensive magic aren't just different spells. They come from completely different sources of power. It's like trying to run diesel in a gas car. Regular mages convert spirit mana into active magic through complex formulas. It's a process of projection and outward force. Offensive magic is all about using that active mana to create destructive effects like flames and explosions. It's an aggressive state of mind translated into power. Meanwhile, healers possess passive mana, which is meant for restoration and stability. According to the books, a healer literally cannot use offensive magic because their mana is too gentle. Will sits on a bench, thinking about how Schwartz is famous for training people with zero talent into first-rate mages. He's betting everything that their hidden methods for refining mana are the key. He knows his mana control is top tier from his past life, so he just needs to find a way to convert that passive energy into something that goes boom. He's determined to find a workaround. He remembers those bullies looking down on him and grits his teeth. Everyone in this school hates healers, but he's going to make them eat their words. He stands up, his resolve renewed. He didn't come back to life just to get pushed around by some blonde kid with a superiority complex. Little did he know what was coming next. He remembers hearing about a legendary student who also started with almost no mana, but refined it into something incredible right here at Schwartz. If they could do it, so can he. He looks up as someone walks past him in the moonlight, feeling like he's on the right path. He's not leaving this school until he masters offensive magic. Will realizes he can't just keep training blindly. He needs access to the restricted books in the library, even if he has to sneak in like a ninja. Suddenly, a voice behind him asks what a student is doing out so late. Our boy is caught red-handed, and he looks totally panicked. He turns around and starts apologizing, but stops dead when he sees who it is. We get a glimpse of high-heeled boots and a very serious-looking sword. Will's eyes go wide as he realizes he's standing in front of someone he definitely didn't expect to see here. The shock is written all over his face. We see the mysterious woman's boots as she walks closer, her presence feeling incredibly heavy and powerful. This isn't just any regular student or guard. A close-up of her cold, piercing blue eyes. She looks like she could freeze someone solid just by glancing at them. It's a beautiful woman with long silver hair and an aura of absolute authority. She looks like a high-ranking knight or a top-tier battle mage. Will recognizes her immediately, whispering the name Veronica. It's clear she played a huge role in his previous life. He remembers her from the battlefield in his past life, where she was a legendary first-class offensive mage. She was basically the MVP of the war against the monsters. Another memory flashes back, one that's much darker. He sees her injured and covered in blood during the final days of the war. He's overwhelmed with nostalgia and relief to see her again in this life. It's like meeting an old friend who doesn't even know you exist yet. She rests her hand on her magic sword, which was famous for being able to slice through literally anything. She looks dangerous, but for Will, it's a welcome sight. But things take a sharp turn when she starts actually drawing her sword on him. He shouts at her to wait a second, realizing his nostalgia might get him killed. She tells him she has to be cautious, because he looks like a suspicious student wandering around at night. She's not playing games, and Will is definitely in the hot seat. She asks if he's just training hard or if he's up to no good. Her gaze is like ice, and Will knows he has to give a good answer fast. Will quickly puts his hands up and lies that he's just out for some extra practice. He knows this woman is on a completely different level than those school bullies. She sheathes her sword, looking slightly bored by his answer. She's got that overpowered character vibe where everything is beneath her. Will confirms her identity, and she admits she is indeed Veronica. But then she adds something that completely catches him off guard. She asks him if he always addresses his teachers so casually. Will is absolutely floored by this information, realizing she's a teacher. He's doing some quick mental math because in his past life, she was much older than him. Something is definitely different in this timeline. It turns out she's a total genius who skipped several grades and became a teacher right after starting this year. She's basically the prodigy of prodigies. Will quickly apologizes and fixes his tone, but inside his head, he's already thinking of his next move. Having a connection to her could change everything. He looks at her with a new sense of purpose. He realizes that this is his biggest chance to actually learn the secrets of Schwartz. He's determined that she's the one who must teach him offensive magic. The plan has changed. Will found his new master, and he's not letting her go. Will doesn't waste any time, boldly telling Professor Veronica that he wants to take her class. He's standing his ground in the middle of the night, looking super determined. He asks her what he needs to do to attend, his eyes full of that typical protagonist drive. He's not taking no for an answer tonight. Veronica explains that she's not actually assigned to teach any regular classes yet. Apparently, she was so good she just kept skipping grades and never really sat through a normal lecture. She tells him she's currently an assistant instructor meant to handle student questions. They thought students would find it easier to talk to someone their own age, but clearly, that plan isn't working out perfectly. She gives a little laugh, admitting that for some reason, absolutely nobody comes to her with questions. I mean, look at her. She's incredibly intimidating. Will realizes this is actually a golden opportunity. If she has no other students, he can have her all to himself for one-on-one training. He asks if it's okay for him to ask questions then. She agrees, saying it's literally her job. Will is pumped. He's about to get the best tutor in the entire school for free. Will decides to be blunt and asks straight out how a healer can master offensive magic. He's going for the big question right away, no beating around the bush. Veronica's expression shifts to a serious, analytical look. She's staring into his soul, or more accurately, his mana flow. She notes that there's something odd about the way his mana flows. She can sense that he's not just your average student, which is a pretty good guess considering he's from the future. She identifies him as that new student everyone's talking about. It seems Will's reputation as the healer at the combat school has already spread like wildfire. Will is surprised she knows about him. She notes that a healer learning offensive magic is unheard of and quite unusual, which is the understatement of the century. Will tells her he heard Schwartz has a special method for refining active mana from almost nothing. He's betting his entire career on this one rumor being true. Veronica confirms that the method does exist and she can teach it to him. Will's face lights up with pure joy. He's finally found the key, but fate had other plans. But then she drops a however that sounds like a massive brick hitting a glass table. Whenever someone says however in a tone like that, you know bad news is coming. Will's expression turns to pure shock. The however is usually followed by something that completely ruins your day. She tells him bluntly that he already has too much passive mana. It's basically the full cup problem. There's no room for any of the active stuff he wants. She explains that at his level, even if he refines active mana, it will just dissolve into his massive pool of passive mana. It's like trying to dye the ocean with a single drop of ink. She notes that when it's mixed with passive mana, offensive magic formulas just won't function properly. His S-rank healing power is literally blocking him from being a mage. Will looks devastated, asking if there's truly no way. Veronica just says not that she knows of, which is a pretty final-sounding answer. Will is frustrated, thinking his whole plan just failed, but he quickly shakes it off. He didn't come back to life to give up at the first hurdle. He thanks her and tells her he'll think about it more on his own. He's walking away, looking pretty down, but his mind is already searching for a new path. Veronica calls out for him to wait and tells him they're not finished yet. She's got that look on her face that says she's about to drop some wisdom. She acknowledges that while it's true, healers can't use offensive magic in the traditional sense, there is still a way for a healer to become an offensive mage. Talk about a massive cliffhanger. Will is completely confused, asking what she could possibly mean by that. He's been told his whole life that these two things are mutually exclusive. She draws her sword, explaining that it's made of iron and its purpose is to cut down enemies. She's starting a very weird philosophy lesson here. Then she points to a nearby wooden bench and says its purpose is to be sat on. Will is probably wondering if he accidentally enrolled in an interior design course. He gives her a very skeptical sound while she continues her explanation. He's not seeing the connection yet, but then she literally lifts the entire heavy wooden bench with one hand. She asks him if he couldn't also knock someone down by swinging the chair at them. She tells him that a chair is only for sitting because it was made for that purpose, but he's free to use it however he wants. The purpose doesn't define the utility, and that's when everything changed. She brings it back to his hands, staring at them intensely. She's making a point about how even the most peaceful tools can be used for violence. She reaches out and pats him gently on the face, showing him that his hands are built for comfort and healing. It's a surprisingly tender moment, but there's a catch. Will is blushing like crazy as she touches his chin. He's totally caught off guard by the sudden physical contact. But then she suddenly gives his face a sharp flick and knocks him back. Or she can hurt him, she says, proving her point in the most painful way possible. She immediately apologizes, asking if that was too hard while Will sits on the ground rubbing his face. Talk about mixed signals from this teacher. She explains, the point is how you use it. Anything can become a weapon depending on the user's intent. She's basically telling him he can use his healing mana to deal damage. A light bulb finally goes off in Will's head. He realized the potential of using healing magic offensively, which is a total game changer. Veronica gives him a cool, knowing look. She's clearly pleased that he finally caught on to her crazy theory. Will wonders why he never thought of that before. Veronica explains that it's the nature of one's mind and the difference in their innate mana. She shows a cute little diagram of a peaceful blue mana drop and an angry red one. It's the perfect summary of why healers and offensive mages usually don't mix. But she looks at Will and tells him he's probably different. She sees something in him that doesn't fit the standard mold. She says the fact that he deliberately enrolled in a combat academy makes him special. She notes that his mana isn't that of a pure healer. It's got a bit of an edge to it. Will looks at his own hands, wondering if he really is different. He thinks maybe it's because he regressed and has all those war memories, or maybe it's something else. Veronica draws her sword again and points it right at him. She tells him he needs to recognize the aggressive passion within himself. She looks absolutely badass as she glows with energy, her sword ready. She's essentially challenging his inner self to come out and play. She tells him that if he can do it, his healing magic will surely shatter his enemies. That is such a cool concept, destroying people with the power of life. Next day, and the training ground is packed with students. The atmosphere is totally different under the bright morning sun. Will is standing there thinking about what Veronica said yesterday. He's lost in thought, clearly still processing her revolutionary theory. We see a quick memory of Veronica's intense gaze and her weird chair example. It's clear her words really stuck with him. Will wonders why she didn't show any of the usual hatred towards healers. He finds it strange that she had such a perfect theory ready to go. Suddenly, a voice shouts at the healer, and Will is snapped back to reality. The other students won't even call him by his name, they just use his class as an insult. Professor Opus, the blue-haired lady with the serious attitude, announces that they're doing one-on-one mock battles today, and because they have an odd number of students, Will gets to join in. She tells him bluntly that his inability to use magic is his own problem, and he brought this on himself. She's basically setting him up to get slaughtered. She's got a totally sadistic look on her face as she says she's already decided the pairings. You can practically see the villain laughter bubbles around her. She announces that Will is paired with a student named Opus. Wait, is that her relative? This is definitely a setup. Will notes what an obvious setup this is, and even some of the other students are smirking. They all know what's about to happen. We get a close-up of Will's eye as he watches his opponent step forward. He's not looking scared, he's looking focused. The opponent is a blonde guy with a cocky grin, apparently from a famous noble family. This guy looks like the textbook definition of a school bully. Will observes that the guy seems genuinely skilled and isn't just relying on his family name. He's not going to be an easy target, but this decision would change everything. The blonde bully mocks Will, asking if he's going to have his mommy comfort him after he gets beaten to a pulp. Man, the trash talk in this school is really bottom tier. Will just stands there with a flat expression. He's clearly not impressed by the low-level taunts from this kid. But then we see a tick mark on his head as he admits to himself that this really pisses him off. Our boy finally has that aggressive passion Veronica was talking about. Professor Opus asks if he wants to forfeit, clearly expecting him to chicken out, but Will has other ideas. He puts up one finger and tells her he has a proposal. He's about to pull a total pro-gamer move. He admits he has no talent for offensive magic and acknowledges it's a waste of time. He's playing right into their hands, but you know there's a trap coming. He boldly declares that if he loses this fight, he'll quit the academy. Everyone is shocked. He's betting his entire future on this one match. Professor Opus gives a nasty grin, calling it a wise decision. She thinks she's finally gotten rid of the eyesore student. Will makes his counteroffer, asking if he wins, will she let him attend regular classes. He's aiming high. The blonde bully is laughing his head off, thinking it's an impossible fantasy and calling Will a frail boy. This guy is going to eat those words so hard. He tells Will, it's no fun if there's nothing to crush, looking absolutely maniacal. This guy is definitely going to be the first one to feel Will's new power. The professor agrees, saying that discussing impossible hypotheticals is a waste of time. She's completely convinced Will is going to lose. She tells them both to take their positions. The stage is set for a massive upset, and the tension is through the roof. The two opponents stand at opposite ends of the arena, the sunlight reflecting off the sand. It's a classic showdown moment. The professor raises her hand and shouts for them to begin. This is it, time for Will to show everyone what a support can really do. The blonde bully charges up his magic, his eyes glowing as he manifests some serious energy. He's not holding back at all. He summons a whole circle of glowing golden daggers that float in the air around him. It looks super cool and incredibly dangerous. He announces his knife creation magic and tells Will he's about to be skewered. He's super confident, maybe even a little too confident. He unleashes the daggers. and they fly towards Will in a rain of golden light. Some of the students are shouting that a dropout can't do anything against that. Will is standing perfectly still as the daggers rush towards him. He's got that calm before the storm look that usually means trouble for the other guy. He puts his hands together and activates a massive, complex magic circle. It's a vibrant green color, which usually means healing, but this time it feels different. Close up on Will's eyes, and they're glowing with an intense green light. He's finally found that inner fire and he's channeling it perfectly. In a blur of motion, he easily dodges all the flying daggers. He's moving so fast, he's basically a ghost on the battlefield. The blonde bully is completely floored, shouting in disbelief. He can't believe a lowly healer just dodged his unbeatable attack. Will stands confidently in his magic circle, explaining that the essence of his healing magic is life manipulation. He's about to show everyone what that really means. He shows a cool little diagram where he manipulates the target's life activities appropriately. It's basically like he's hacking the biological code of a living being. He tells the bully that healing power isn't the only thing he can manipulate. If he converts it into an offensive form, things are about to get messy. The bully gets angry, telling Will not to get cocky over a fluke. He's charging up more magic, looking even more desperate now. Will shouts physical enhancement, and his entire body starts glowing with green energy. He's using his life manipulation to boost his own stats to insane levels. He closes the distance in a split second, appearing right in the bully's face. The guy is so slow compared to Will, he can barely even register what's happening. Will effortlessly bats away a bunch of spinning magical discs. He's acting like this whole fight is just a warm-up for him. The daggers and discs fall to the ground with a bunch of clacking sounds. Will's defense is absolutely perfect. Will stops right in front of the bully, who looks like he's about to cry. Will says the timing is perfect with a very predatory look in his eyes. He reaches out and grabs one of the bully's own magical daggers right out of the air. Now that is the ultimate comeback move. He looks up with a fierce, glowing gaze and says he's borrowing this. The table has officially turned, and it's time for some serious payback. Will isn't just dodging, he's taking trophies. He catches one of the bully's magical daggers right out of the air and tells him he's borrowing it. This kid just went from support to main DPS in 3 seconds flat. The crowd is losing their minds because healers aren't supposed to be able to move like that. They're all asking if that was offensive magic, but honestly, it's just Will being built different. The blonde bully, Opus, is absolutely fuming that a lowly healer is making him look like a chump. He tries to play it off like he was just holding back, but we all see that sweat on his forehead. He screams that there's no way an offensive mage would lose to a healer while launching a massive wall of fire and steel. It's a total overkill move, but when you're desperate, you do crazy things. Will is moving so fast, he's creating actual after images on the battlefield. All those knives are just hitting air while he weaves through the attack like it's a casual morning jog. Impact sparks are flying everywhere as Will deflects or narrowly dodges the remaining blades. He's completely controlled the flow of this fight from the very first second. Close up on Opus's hands as he tries to force out more mana, but he's clearly reaching his limit. You can see the pure desperation in his eyes. He's realizing he might actually lose this. Will manifests a massive, glowing golden sword of his own, looking like a literal god of war. The bully in the background just stares in horror as he realizes the skill gap is a whole mountain range wide. Will gives him a bit of credit, thinking that the guy's understanding of unique magic is actually pretty high, but pretty high doesn't cut it when you're facing a regressor with decades of experience. He decides it's time to end this and starts charging up a massive spin attack. He says now, he'll add rotation. If you know, you know. Spin is always a game changer. He unleashes a giant golden energy drill that looks like it could punch a hole through a castle wall, asking how his opponent likes this. Talk about a finishing move. The golden tornado slams into the arena, creating a massive shockwave that blows everything back. Opus is caught right in the middle of it, and it's definitely not a good time for him. The bully is staring with his mouth wide open, completely unable to process how he just got deleted. Yeah, buddy, that's what a weak healer looks like when they stop being nice. Will is gritting his teeth, feeling the strain of pushing his current body so hard. He's making a face that says he really needs to work on his stamina if he's going to keep doing this. Opus tries one last desperate power-up, screaming while Will is already planning his next move. He's thinking about how much more he needs to boost his physical enhancement to end this instantly. We get a close-up of Will's face as those green magic effects start swirling again. He's evaluating his mana levels like a pro, wondering if he should dump a bit more into his stats. Will vanishes in a literal blur of speed, reappearing behind the bully before the guy can even blink. A massive impact crater forms where he lands, showing just how much force he's putting out. A huge dust cloud erupts as Will delivers the final blow or just lands with terrifying force. Opus is left staring into the void, muttering that it's impossible because his pride is officially shattered. Will stands right behind the terrified noble, holding a glowing dagger to his neck. He gives him that chillingly polite protagonist smile and says he'll heal him properly, so he should forgive him. That's some cold-blooded healer energy right there. He makes his move with a quick strike, his hand a complete blur of motion. He's ending this match right now, and he's doing it with style, and that's when everything changed. Will's eye is glowing with that intense green light as he looks through the massive stone pillar he just smashed. He looks totally locked in, like he's already thinking 3 steps ahead of everyone else. He turns his back on the defeated bully and starts walking away casually like it was just a light workout. Opus is slumped on the ground, looking like he's just seen his entire world view get demolished. The top-down shot shows the scale of the damage. Will literally slammed a giant stone pillar into the ground to end the fight. The arena is a mess, and the silence from the students is deafening. Professor Opus finally steps in to stop the carnage, telling both of them to stand down. She looks completely done with the situation, and honestly, can you blame her? Will stands tall and composed while the blonde noble is still stuck in the processing phase on the dirt. The power dynamic in this classroom just did a complete 180. Will switches back to innocent student mode instantly, asking with a big smile if he can attend regular classes now. The whiplash between Battle God and Polite Kid is incredible. The professor is absolutely fuming, gritting her teeth in total saltiness. She tells him through clenched teeth to do what he wants, clearly hating the fact that she has to keep her promise. Will is absolutely beaming with joy, giving her a cheerful thank you. He's so polite it's almost insulting after he just wrecked her favorite student. He walks off the field with zero drama, leaving the entire class staring at his back in stunned silence. He's already on to the next part of his plan. As he walks, he's reflecting on the feeling of that fight, realizing he's finally developed his own unique style of offensive magic. It's the first step in his journey to becoming a battle mage. He walks away under the bright blue sky, feeling satisfied that he beat a skilled mage his own age. He thinks it worked better than he imagined, and honestly, we agree. He thinks back to Professor Veronica's advice with a sense of gratitude. Thanks to her, he can use healing magic offensively. That S-rank tutor really paid off. Will looks up at the clouds with eyes full of hope and determination. He thinks he can become an offensive mage. The dream is alive and well, folks. The flag of Schwartz Academia flies proudly in the sun, marking a major turning point in the story. Our boy is officially in the game now. Back in class, Professor Opus is helping the blonde bully up, who's trying to play it off as a class accident. He says it's no problem, but you know he's crying on the inside. The kid continues his act, saying he doesn't want to bother his father with every little thing. That's a subtle way of reminding everyone he's a noble, but we all know he just got washed. He gives the professor a creepy, manipulative smirk, asking if she understands what he's saying. He's basically using his family's influence to keep her on his side. She adjusts her glasses and gives a cool confirmation. She's clearly playing the political game even if she knows the truth. She thinks to herself with a dark expression that she can't let a healer act so high and mighty. The salt is real with this lady. She is definitely not a fan of our protagonist. Will is finally where he wants to be, the library. He's surrounded by stacks of books, ready to soak up all the forbidden knowledge he was denied before. He looks totally satisfied as he declares he'll learn everything about offensive magic. From healing to nuking, this man is going to be the ultimate hybrid build. The scene shifts to a regular classroom where students are settling in for the next lesson. It looks like a normal school day, but the tension is definitely still there. Professor Opus looks like she'd rather be anywhere else, noting that she has to handle multiple subjects as the homeroom teacher. Teaching the person you hate the most must be a real struggle. She officially starts the magic tool creation class, and Will is all ears. This is where he can really shine with his high mana control. Will has a nostalgic little smile as he remembers a similar class back at the Healing Academy. He's the only one in the room with 2 lifetimes worth of crafting experience. Today's project is ice bombs, and we get a nice little diagram of how to make them. It looks like simple chemistry, but with a lot more potential to blow your hand off. The professor hands out bags of materials, telling them to follow the steps precisely while infusing their mana. Will is already analyzing the components like a pro. He thinks back to his past life where he only made boring stuff like recovery potions. Making weapons is a whole new world for him, and he's clearly enjoying it. He notes that for tool creation, the nature of your mana doesn't matter as much as the quality of the materials. This is the perfect loophole for a healer trying to make things go boom. He pulls out a glowing blue shard, an ice golem eye fragment. He's confident that he can handle this class without any issues. He's got his little kit ready with the fragments and some flame tree powder. Time to see if he's still got that S-rank crafting skill. He holds the blue crystal and follows the instructions, carefully mixing the ingredients. Everything seems to be going perfectly according to the book, but things are about to get worse. Suddenly, the crystal starts glowing and sparking like crazy, catching Will totally off guard. He realizes something is wrong, and you just know a disaster is about to happen. The thing goes off like a grenade, and Will has to quickly use physical enhancement just to survive the blast. So much for a peaceful crafting class. A massive explosion of ice magic fills the entire classroom, and the professor has to shield her face from the shrapnel. Will's little project just became a major incident. A giant, jagged ice spire has sprouted right out of Will's desk, looking like something from a frozen wasteland. It's beautiful, but also a total safety hazard. Will is sitting there looking absolutely stunned, wondering what the heck just went wrong. He followed the instructions, but the results were way more explosive than expected. The professor is predictably losing her mind, screaming at him and asking what he's doing. She's not having a good day at all. Will tries to explain that it went off on its own before he even touched it with mana, but she isn't listening. She tells him no excuses and that she's deducting points. Talk about a tough grader. The other students are cackling in the background, loving every second of Will's failure. It's hard to be the cool new kid when your desk is a giant ice cube. Opus and his buddy are having a real laugh at Will's expense. They think the prodigy is finally showing his true, clumsy colors. The blonde noble gives Will a look of pure smugness that is just begging to be punched. He's really enjoying seeing Will struggle with basic tasks. Will is sitting in a pool of absolute gloom, with dark shadows literally hanging over him. He's realizing that the teachers are definitely going to make his life a living hell. We get a close-up of his tired eyes as he moves on to the next class. He mutters about the next class, clearly already over it. The next subject is magical creatures, and we see a cute little red lizard in a cage. Meet the salamander. He looks small, but don't let that fool you. Will is staring blankly at the lizard, looking like his soul has already left his body. He's reached the just let it end phase of the school day. The classroom setup shows Will right in the front row. The professor explains that students with bad grades get the best seats so she can keep an eye on them. The salamander is staring right back at Will, and he gets a bad feeling about being this close to it. He's already expecting something to go south. And right on cue, the lizard blasts a huge stream of fire right at him. Will is ready though, pulling out a literal frying pan to use as a shield. The professor looks at him like he's crazy and asks why he's carrying a pot. He says sheepishly that he thought it might be necessary, and honestly, he wasn't wrong. She just takes the pan away and confiscates it, leaving him totally defenseless against the fire-breathing lizard. This lady is actually evil. Will sits there looking even more miserable, finally realizing the full extent of the sabotage. He mutters that he sees how it is, and yeah, it's not looking good. He realizes the teachers have zero intention of actually letting him attend class properly. They're just setting him up to fail over and over again. He clutches his head, trying to figure out what his next move is. He's in a school where everyone from the students to the teachers wants him gone. He looks over at the rest of the class, trying to see how they're handling their creatures. He's looking for a distraction or a way out. He notices a girl with long reddish-pink hair sitting nearby, looking very composed and serious. It seems like not everyone in this class is a total jerk. After everything that happened in class, the harassment didn't stop. Will is finding out the hard way that being a genius doesn't make you popular when you're the odd one out. The blonde noble, Opus, is still being a complete jerk, deliberately setting Will's clothes or books on fire and playing it off with a fake apology. This guy's commitment to being a bottom-tier villain is honestly impressive. Even the teachers are in on it, calling on Will to answer problems he hasn't even had the chance to study yet. Professor Opus just cold-bloodedly deducts points, blaming him for falling behind. Talk about a rigged game. Will comes back to his room to find a pile of literal trash waiting for him right in front of the door. This is some middle school level bullying from people who can literally summon fireballs. The harassment followed him everywhere, even outside of class. It seems like the entire academy is determined to make his life a living hell. To top it all off, the dorm supervisor tells him he's heard he misbehaved in class and cancels his dinner as punishment. Will says that's not fair, and yeah, no kidding. Will is back in his room, letting out a long, tired sigh. This second chance at life is turning out to be a lot more exhausting than his first one. He flops onto his bed, staring at the ceiling and lamenting the fact that everyone at the academy is so hostile toward him. It's hard to save a world that's actively trying to kick your teeth in. He thinks that he still has a mountain of challenges ahead while lying flat on the bed. He's definitely feeling the weight of being the academy's most hated student. He looks at his own hand, realizing that despite all the garbage he's dealing with, he is making steady progress. He's already miles ahead of where he used to be at this age. He remembers his first real fight where he won with his own hands. That success is the one thing keeping his spirits up right now. But fate had other plans. Will clenches his fist with a determined look, reminding himself that he can and will become an offensive mage. He's not letting a few bullies and some missed dinners stop him. He manages to get his hands on a textbook and stays up late to review the day's lessons. If they won't teach him in class, he'll just have to teach himself. Next day, and Will is sitting alone in a massive, empty classroom. He looks like the loneliest person in the world right now. He checks the clock, realizing the teacher is late even though it's already time for class to start. Something is definitely fishy here. He notices that the red-haired girl from before is the only other person in the room. He suspects they deliberately hid a classroom change from them to set them up for failure. Will stands up, deciding there's no point in staying in an empty room any longer. He's already onto their little game. He walks over to the girl and gives her a nervous greeting, which makes her jump in surprise. This girl is clearly as socially anxious as he is. Will points out that the classroom probably changed for the next class. He's being helpful, and the girl just gives a shy agreement. Will realizes she's probably being targeted just like he is. He's got that look on his face that says he knows exactly how she feels. The girl is fidgeting, admitting that she guesses she's on that side too. She's clearly been having a rough time at the academy as well. Will thinks to himself that even though she acts negative, her words still have a bit of a thorn to them. He's intrigued by this fellow loner. He reaches out his hand and gives her a warm, friendly smile, suggesting they should get along as fellow outcasts. This is the start of a beautiful friendship, or a very awkward alliance. The girl is totally flustered, bowing and asking him to please take care of her. She's cute in a socially stunted kind of way. She finally introduces herself as Erica Glenn. We finally got a name for the red-haired girl. We get a full shot of Erica Glenn in her school uniform. She looks like a proper noble girl, the one who's clearly not part of the popular crowd. Will reflects on the fact that Erica is his very first friend at this academy. He's really moving up in the world, one whole friend at a time. He notes that healer discrimination runs deep in this society, and he totally understands why he's being targeted. It doesn't make it right, but at least it makes sense. He jokes that even though he attends classes, he has no friends either, which makes Erica laugh. They're bonding over their shared misery. Will thinks about how common it is for offensive mages on the front lines to look down on healers. He's seen this movie before, and he knows how it ends. He remembers how in his past life, he was quickly recognized as the kingdom's healer and never had to deal with this kind of treatment. He's truly seeing how the other half lives now. He realizes that being at an offensive magic academy means he has to fight against that discrimination every single day. It's a battle of minds and hearts, not just mana. He's determined to study here and prove that a healer can be just as strong, if not stronger, than any offensive mage. He's got that unshakable resolve look again. Erica suddenly asks him the million-dollar question. Why did he come to Schwartz? She's genuinely curious about what would drive someone like him to this place. The two of them stand in the empty hallway as Will prepares his answer. It's a major character moment for our boy. He gives her a bit of a mysterious answer, starting by repeating her question. He's definitely not ready to tell her the "I'm a time-traveling regressor" part yet. He admits that even though he was born a healer, he realized that's no excuse to give up on his true dreams. He's being very inspiring right now. He tells her he has his reasons and then turns the question back on her. He wants to know what brought a noble girl like Erica to a place like this. Erica is surprised he's asking about her, and she gets that shy look again. She's clearly a bit hesitant to open up. She explains that she's from a small noble family in the provinces. We see a portrait of her family looking very formal and proper. Apparently, no male heir was born, so her parents were worried the family line would just end. They're putting all their pressure on her to distinguish herself as an offensive mage. No pressure, right? Will starts to see the big picture. Graduating from a school like Schwartz would definitely save her family's legacy. He's really seeing how everyone here has their own burdens. But then Erica admits she has almost no talent for offensive magic and calls her life the worst. She's really having a rough time, poor girl. But then she brightens up, saying she did make a friend. She's looking at Will with a big, happy smile that is just absolutely precious. Little did she know what was coming next. She says she won't feel so anxious even if her grades are bad because someone even more of a dropout than her is here. Will is just staring at her, thinking what a thing to say with such a cheerful face. Seriously, that was a low blow, Erica. Erica tells him to feel free to ask her if there's anything he doesn't understand. Will just gives a polite thanks while thinking about how brutal her words are. Will tells her that things might not go exactly the way she thinks. He's clearly planning something that's going to shock the entire school. He tells her to come on so they can find where the actual class is being held. He's taking charge, and Erica is just following along like a confused puppy. Will walks ahead, leaving Erica to scramble after him. She shouts for him to wait, clearly not wanting to be left alone again. They finally find the real classroom, but they're clearly late. Professor Olpus is already mid-lecture, and she is not going to be happy to see them. Erica is bowing and apologizing like crazy, while Will just stands there looking bored. He knows this was a deliberate setup anyway. Professor Olpus gives them a cold look, accepting no excuses. She's definitely going to make them pay for being late, regardless of the reason. She gives a nasty little smirk, saying she might as well make them useful while they're here. This is definitely not going to be a fun activity. She points at the chalkboard and tells Will to answer this problem. He's being put on the spot in front of the whole class. Erica is panicking, thinking it's totally unfair because they just got there, and Will hasn't even seen the material yet. She's a good friend for being so worried about him. Will just stares at the board with a totally flat expression. He's not looking worried at all, which is either a sign of confidence or he's just totally given up. He stands at the board, looking at the complex magic circles and formulas. Professor Opus tells him that if he gets it right, she'll overlook their tardiness, but if he's wrong, it's points deduction time. The blonde noble and his lackeys are smirking in the back, thinking Will is about to fail in no time. They're already celebrating his inevitable downfall. Will picks up a piece of chalk, looking completely calm. He's got that look that says he's about to do a pro gamer move. He starts writing on the board with incredible speed, his hand a complete blur. Everyone in the room is watching in stunned silence as he effortlessly solves the complex problem. Erica is wide-eyed, wondering if he's just guessing. The blonde noble also looks like he's having a minor crisis, muttering about pointless struggling. Will's hand is moving across the board like a machine, filling it with perfect magical formulas. He's not just solving it, he's mastering it. He finishes the problem and draws a perfect magic circle at the end. It actually starts to glow with light on the board. Will turns around and casually asks the professor how he did. Talk about a legendary mic drop moment in the middle of a lecture. Professor Opus is completely speechless, staring at the board with a look of pure shock. She definitely didn't expect the dropout healer to pull that off. She's actually trembling, her face pale. She's realized that she's dealing with someone far beyond a regular student. The blonde noble is also losing his mind, shouting in disbelief while the professor tells Will to just sit down. She's totally defeated. Erica is absolutely stunned, asking why as Will casually takes his seat. She's seeing a side of him she never expected. Will just sits there with his hands clasped, giving a small, knowing smile. The narration trails off, leaving everyone wondering just what kind of healer they've actually got in their class. He's officially the boss now. After the class finally ends, the room is still buzzing with the shock of Will's performance. Everyone's packing up, but they can't stop staring at the dropout who just out-magicked the professor. The scene is labeled "After Class," and you can feel the heavy atmosphere. Will is just standing there while his name hangs in the air like a question nobody wants to ask out loud. Erica is absolutely floored, asking Will point blank how he solved that insane problem. She looks like she's just witnessed a miracle, while Will is just being his usual mysterious self. He repeats her question, looking at her with a calm expression. He's about to drop some protagonist wisdom on his new friend. Erica is wide-eyed, as Will admits he simply read ahead using the textbook. She's completely stunned. Who actually reads the textbook before the class? We see Will back in his room, studying intensely at his desk. He notes that Schwartz's textbook is actually worthy of being called the best in the world for offensive magic. The book covers everything from the absolute basics to advanced applications in an incredibly efficient way. The narration says if you master this, you should easily surpass the level of a typical offensive mage, and Will is definitely aiming for that. Will reflects on his past life where he was always good at studying. That mindset and knowledge are now helping him understand the complex theories of offensive magic at a much deeper level. Back in the present, Erica is still having a minor crisis, crying out in shock. She looks like she's about to have a breakdown. She tells him she honestly thought he was a total dropout like her. She asks him with a look of pure betrayal if he was just pretending. She's spiraling, wondering if she's actually the only one at the bottom. She wails, begging him not to leave her behind. Will gives her a gentle pat on the shoulder, looking like a supportive big brother. He tells her it's okay and that he'll teach her anything. He's a total saint for dealing with her drama. Will gives a bright, cheerful smile and tells her they're friends, aren't they? This guy is way too wholesome for a school full of magical bullies. Erica is touched, looking up at him with teary eyes. She whispers his name, clearly feeling the power of friendship for the first time in ages, and thanks him. Will thinks to himself that friends is such a nice word. He's realizing that having Erica around will help him do a lot more than he could on his own. He decides it's time to ask her for a little help in return. He says that classes aren't just lectures after all, looking down at her with a plan in mind, and that's when everything changed. We see a quick flashback to all the times Will failed his practical classes. He notes that the practicals are the real reason he's been shut out of all the lessons. Erica points out that he can obviously do it now, since he even beat the noble kid Opus. She's got a good point, but Will has a very specific problem. He admits that he still can't use basic offensive magic. It's a huge reveal. He's great at combat in theory, but the fundamental magic is still a total no-go. He gives her a determined, slightly mischievous look and says he has an idea. He tells her that's where he needs her help. He's about to recruit his first magical accomplice. The scene shifts to the next day's practical training session. The students are lined up on the field, ready for another round of being mocked by the professor. Will is standing among the other students, reflecting on the two types of offensive magic: basic offensive magic and unique magic. It's an important distinction for what he's about to pull off. Basic offensive magic is something anyone can use just by analyzing the formula. It's like a public spell that everyone learns in school. Unique magic, on the other hand, is magic that only one specific person can use. It's way more powerful and specialized, like the golden daggers that Noble Kid was using. The Schwartz curriculum has separate classes for both types of magic. Will realizes this is his perfect opportunity to bypass the no offensive magic rule. Since the unique magic classes don't have set correct answers, Will believes he can attend those just by using his offensive healing style. He's found a loophole big enough to drive a magic cart through. Back at the training grounds, the professor is already starting the basic offensive magic class. This is the one Will needs to pass to get back into the regular rotation. Professor Olpus towers over Will, telling him he can't pass this class without using basic offensive magic. She's literally gatekeeping him from the rest of his education. She sneers that while lectures seem to go well, practicals won't be the same. She tells him he fails this class if he can't use basic offensive magic. She is really enjoying this power trip. Will just gives a calm yes, looking completely unfazed by her threats. He's already got his secret weapon ready to go. The assignment is the same as before. Use a basic offensive fire spell to blast through the target. It's a total beginner level task that should be easy for anyone with mana. The professor gets right in Will's face, telling him again that this is the most basic of basics. She's really trying to rub it in that he's an incompetent healer. She mentions how she saw him use healing magic in the mock battle. She's not impressed though, noting that bodies just move better after being healed. It's not real combat magic in her eyes. She doubles down on the insults, telling him that an incompetent like him should hurry up and leave her class. She's basically telling him to drop out. Will is taking a few steps back as she yells, but we see a faint smile on his face. He's not being pushed around, he's just getting into position. The professor asks if he laughed, looking totally incensed. She cannot stand the fact that this lowly healer isn't cowering in fear of her. Close up on the professor's eye, and you can see the absolute rage boiling over. She is about to have a total meltdown. Suddenly, a massive burst of fire erupts from Will's hand. Everyone shouts in shock as the arena lights up with a vibrant orange glow. Will stands there with a huge, perfect fireball floating over his hand. He's got that look that says "I told you so," and it is absolutely legendary. He gives a bright, confident laugh, while the students in the background are whispering in total shock, wondering why he can use this magic. He's officially broken the rules of the world. We get a quick flashback to Will and Erica together in an empty room. This is where the magic happened, literally. Will explains his plan. He had Erica create a fireball with basic offensive magic, and then he infused it into a salamander's tail. Wait, he's carrying around a lizard part? He shows himself holding the glowing red tail, explaining that he keeps healing it so it won't burn up while he's holding it. He's essentially using high-speed healing to bottle a fireball. Erica is sweating, asking if it doesn't hurt. Will just casually says he's a healer, and if he keeps healing it, this much is nothing. This man is built different. He's literally ignoring pain through raw willpower and magic. Erica is absolutely terrified, wondering just who the heck Will really is. She whispers, asking just who he is, and honestly, we're all thinking the same thing. The narration drops a massive truth bomb. He's the former world's greatest healer. It explains so much about his insane mana control and total lack of fear. He explains that right before releasing it, he activates the tail's flame sac with more healing magic. He's making it look like a fireball was generated on the spot. Back in the present, he unleashes the fireball and it blasts across the arena in a spectacular display of light and heat. It's the perfect fake-out. The fire is intense, looking exactly like the basic offensive magic he was supposed to use. He's actually pulled off a magical forgery in front of the entire class. Will turns back to the professor with a totally innocent look and asks how he did. He is really enjoying making her look like a fool. The professor is stunned, noting that it was undoubtedly a flame from basic offensive magic. She's completely fallen for his trap. Little did she know what was coming next. She's staring in total disbelief, wondering if he really became able to use offensive magic in just one day. Her entire worldview is being dismantled right before her eyes. She finally has to admit defeat, telling him he passes and to stand down. Will just gives a polite thank you, which is the ultimate victory lap. The other students are buzzing, and Erica is in the back looking totally relieved and also a bit terrified of her friend's genius. This guy is the ultimate wild card. The blonde noble Opus is absolutely fuming, his face red with rage. He can't stand that the dropout is now passing classes with flying colors. he shouts, asking what's going on as the class breaks into total chaos. The peaceful training session has turned into a scene of pure confusion and saltiness. Opus yells at the professor, demanding to know how Will can use magic. He's acting like a spoiled brat, and the professor is clearly starting to feel the pressure. He gets right in her face, screaming that having a healer in the same class is unbearable. He's even threatening to report her to his father to get the class disbanded. Professor Opus is sweating, realizing her job is on the line. She has to do something to stop the noble's tantrum before it ruins her life. She tells Opus to use any method he wants and get Will out of her sight. She's basically given him a license to hunt our protagonist. The noble walks out with a smug look, leaving the professor alone in the room. This class accident is about to become a full-on war. The professor is biting her lip, realizing that doing something outside of class carries a high risk if she's discovered. But she's desperate enough to try anything now. She thinks to herself that this is different from some privileged student's bullying. She's actually taking matters into her own hands to protect her position. She reflects on how the other teachers might talk about a healer acting so high and mighty. Her pride is completely wounded, and she's looking for blood. She declares with a look of pure malice that she won't let some 15-year-old healer ruin her life. She's officially gone from mean teacher to major antagonist. She adjusts her glasses, her eyes glowing with a dark energy. She says she has no choice but to take matters into her own hands. Things just went from 0 to 60 in about half a second. Will better watch his back. School is officially out, but the grind never stops. We're headed back to the training grounds for some extracurricular activities. Will is standing out in the open, looking around confused. He's asking why he was even called out here in the first place. It's not like he's looking for more trouble. Professor Opus is waiting for him, and she's as cold as ever. She thinks Will is getting cocky lately, though Will just gives a polite remark that it's thanks to her, which honestly feels like a subtle burn. Opus isn't having it and tells him not to be a fool. She points out that he's missed several of her classes and wants to know how he plans to make up for it. Will gives her a look like he can't believe she's serious. He really wants to remind her exactly whose fault it is that he was banned from class, but he keeps it professional. He mentions that he learned the material from a classmate and covered the rest through self-study. Erica looks super nervous in the background. Don't blow his cover, girl. Opus shuts him down immediately, saying that's not for him to decide. If you miss class, you need makeup lessons. It's the rules, even if the teacher is a hater. She adjusts her glasses with that classic anime glint that says she's about to do something evil. She reminds him that the instructor in charge decides exactly what those lessons look like. And here's the trap. She challenges him to a mock battle right then and there. A battle between a teacher and a student? Yeah, this is definitely about her bruised ego. Will looks genuinely surprised by the escalation. He's probably thinking that this makeup lesson feels a lot like a legalized assault. Opus offers a handicap because of the massive difference in their abilities. She says if he can land just one hit, he passes. It's a total generous offer that's actually a huge insult. Will just stands there with his mouth shut, processing the situation. Opus asks if he's going to run away now that the terms are on the table. She starts cackling, telling him his attacks will never even reach her. She's way too confident for someone who's about to be a victim of regression knowledge. Will isn't backing down. He knows he has to beat some sense into her, so she finally listens. He's got that main character resolve dialed all the way up. He gives a simple agreement, accepting the challenge. He's not scared of her, and honestly, she should be a lot more worried than she looks. The professor gives a nasty little smirk. She's way too confident for someone who's about to get a reality check from a regressor. She doesn't waste any time, slamming her hands into a magic circle on the ground. She's bringing out the big guns right from the start. A massive slab of earth shoots up from the ground, nearly catching Will off guard. She's using magic that raises the ground, and it looks heavy enough to crush a tank. Will stands his ground while the arena literally falls apart around him. He's analyzing her movements, looking for that one opening he needs. The rock pillars are erupting everywhere with insane speed. Even the narration has to point out that this lady isn't just a talker, she's got the skills to back it up. Will is in a full sprint, barely staying an inch ahead of the rising earth. It's like playing a deadly game of the floor is lava, but the floor is also actively trying to kill you. He lets out a frustrated sound as he ducks under another massive pillar. He's realizing that dodging isn't going to win him the fight, he needs to counter. Another huge impact shakes the training grounds. Will is doing a lot of running, but zero hitting, and the pressure is starting to mount, and that's when everything changed. Opus is standing in the center of a lightning-filled magic circle, looking totally unbothered. She mocks him, asking if he's just going to dodge the whole time. Will figures out her trick. She's using creation-type magic on the existing ground to make her attacks lightning fast. It's efficient and deadly, but now that he knows how it works, it's game over. Will shouts that it's not so fast that he can't dodge it as he weaves through a forest of stone pillars. He's closing the distance, and you can tell he's found his rhythm. He's leaping between the rising pillars like a parkour master. He's not just surviving anymore, he's hunting for his opening. Will puts his own plan into motion, placing his hands on a glowing magic circle. He's not using offensive magic, he's about to show her what a combat healer can really do. He sprints between two closing stone walls, narrowly avoiding being turned into a Will sandwich. Talk about a high-stakes obstacle course. A massive explosion of earth erupts as Will makes his move. The scale of the magic here is getting absolutely insane. Opus is still smirking behind her glasses, thinking she's got everything under control. Big mistake, lady. Huge. Will dives from the top of a pillar, aiming a dagger straight for her head. It's a bold move, but Opus is still just standing there like she's bored. The dagger connects with a massive clang, but it doesn't look like a direct hit. Something stopped it cold. It turns out she's got a literal stone golem armor protecting her. Will's dagger is stuck in its shoulder, and he's realizing that it's hard. We get a close-up of the impact, with sparks flying as the blade fails to penetrate the rock. This is a top-tier defense for sure. Will jumps back, letting out a groan as he regroups. That rock armor is definitely going to be a problem for his current physical stats. Opus laughs at him, calling him weak. She names her defense iron wall armor woven from the earth. Honestly, a bit wordy, but I guess it sounds cool. She keeps the trash talk going, calling his efforts a healer's imitation. Will just stares at his hand, looking like he's got a secret he's just dying to share. Will lets out a long breath and addresses her formally as Professor. He's done playing around and is about to drop some biological knowledge on her. He explains that through healing magic, he studied the human body more deeply than anyone. We see a green magic diagram showing that humans usually live while conserving their strength. He points out the big drawback. The body can't withstand its own full power. If you try to output everything at once, your body literally starts breaking down. Opus is annoyed, asking if he's planning to lecture her instead of fighting. Will just tells her to hold on. The lesson is just getting started. Will grips his own forearm, concentrating his mana. He's about to do something that would be suicide for any normal person. He removes the limiter on his body, glowing with an intense green light. He's basically overclocking his muscles, and it looks terrifying. He says it doesn't matter if his arm breaks, with a look of pure determination. Opus is finally looking a little worried, and for good reason. He admits he doesn't like pain, but since he's a healer, it heals right away. This man literally has infinite HP and no stamina limit. He's a walking cheat code. Will charges forward with a massive energy fist, catching Opus completely off guard. She's hiding behind her rock golem, but even that looks fragile now. He unleashes a massive green glowing punch that shatters the golem armor and sends Opus flying. Here it goes. Opus is sent crashing back into the ground, her glasses flying off and blood on her face. The unbeatable professor just got absolutely wrecked by a 15-year-old. Will stands tall over his defeated teacher. He tells her it's not good to decide a student's limits for them. Mic drop of the century. Will reflects on the advice Veronica gave him. He realized that using healing magic offensively was the key he'd been missing all along. He clenches his fist with a confident smile. He thinks nothing is more foolish than deciding something can't be done. That's some peak protagonist energy right there. He looks at his hand, feeling the power. He thinks he can become much stronger. He's only just scratched the surface of what he can do. Suddenly, Will looks up, his expression shifting to shock. He sees something on the ground that definitely shouldn't be there, and it looks like blood. Things just got serious. Will senses something behind him and turns around, startled. It's the middle of a battle, and things just got real intense. A massive pillar of rock erupts right next to him. Talk about a wake-up call. He barely dodges it in time. Professor Opus is looking down at him from across the arena. She's not playing around anymore, and Will is definitely feeling the pressure. She adjusts her glasses with a menacing look, her eyes glowing with dark magic. She's about to drop a major attack and she wants him to know it. Will stands his ground and reminds her of the rules, asking if he passed since he landed a hit. Yeah, keep reminding her of her own arrogance, buddy. She screams at him to shut up, declaring that there are no witnesses here anyway. This mock battle just turned into a private execution attempt. She slams her hand down into a magic circle, her pride clearly wounded. She's thinking a healer landed a hit on her, and she's taking it personally. A massive, jagged rock formation shoots forward, tearing up the ground as it goes. She screams that she can't accept it, looking completely unhinged. Will just lets out a long sigh, looking completely bored by her tantrum. He's got a trick up his sleeve and he's just waiting for the right moment. His feet start sparking with green electricity as he powers up. He says releasing the limiter isn't just for punching. Oh man, here we go. He vanishes in a blur of motion, leaving an afterimage as the rock pillar slams into empty space. He's moving so fast, it's basically teleportation. Will reappears right in front of Opus, catching her completely off guard. She looks terrified as he closes the gap in an instant. She's panicking now, realizing her iron wall armor won't be fast enough to stop him. He's already right there, winding up for the finishing blow. Her eyes go wide as she sees his fist coming right for her face. She's literally seeing her life flash before her eyes in high definition. She's frozen in shock, unable to believe what's happening. She wonders why his movement stopped. She thinks she's caught a break, but she couldn't be more wrong. Will's fist is just inches from her face, held perfectly still. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a magical sword. He lets it hang there for a second, letting her soak in the terror. He wants her to understand exactly how outmatched she is before he ends this. She whispers in dread, and then he finally makes contact. Will delivers a light-speed jab that sends shockwaves through her whole body. He tells her to stop it with a look that says he's done with her games. She's reeling from the hit, her head snapped back as she gasps that the pain is lasting way too long. That's the secret sauce of his new technique. She's clutching her face, screaming that it's many times worse than a normal hit. Will is just standing there, cold as ice, while she falls apart. She's sobbing now, completely broken. She can't endure the sensation, but she's so shocked she can't even run away or properly express the pain. Will looks down at her as she collapses to her knees. She's literally begging him to please make it end already. How the tables have turned. He finishes her off with a final kick that sends her flying across the training ground. A massive impact sound follows as she hits a wall. Opus is slumped against the rubble, looking completely defeated. The world's most arrogant professor just got a very painful reality check. Will walks back over, glowing with healing magic. He welcomes her back with a bright smile that's actually pretty terrifying in this context. She's shaking, demanding to know what he did to her. Will just shrugs and offers to explain everything, since he's a much better teacher than she is. He explains that the moment his fist hit, he cast sensory enhancement magic on her. He's literally overclocking her nervous system to make every hit feel like a nightmare. He points to his head, explaining that he uses this magic on himself to increase his reaction speed. But on her, he used it at an excessive level. This kid is a genius and a menace. We get a handy little graphic showing that he made 1 second feel like 1,000 seconds for her. Imagine feeling that punch for 15 minutes straight. Brutal. He puts a hand on her shoulder, reminding her that she knows exactly what it feels like now. She looks absolutely traumatized, and honestly, can you blame her? Will gives her a dark, shadowy grin that is 100% villain mode. He asks her with mock politeness if he passed the makeup lesson. He's not done yet, looming over her as she trembles. He says there's one more thing, and you know whatever comes next is going to be a demand she can't refuse. He admits that while he can't fix her trash personality, he's not going to let her get in his way anymore. He's officially putting her in her place. The lighting shifts as Will's aura turns red and demonic. He tells her she'll experience that kind of pain again and ingrain it in her body if she tries anything else. Absolute savage. He clarifies that he just wants to attend classes and not be bothered by other students. It's a simple request, backed by the threat of eternal suffering. Seems reasonable. Suddenly, he's back to innocent schoolboy mode, giving a huge, happy smile. He asks if she'll grant his request. The whiplash is real. The scene pans out to the beautiful academy at sunset. Everything looks peaceful, which is a hilarious contrast to the psychological torture that just went down. Professor Opus is left standing alone in the hallway, looking completely shattered. She's staring into the distance, probably wondering where it all went wrong. She reflects on the common knowledge that healers are weak and should obey offensive mages. She's realizing that rule definitely doesn't apply to the monster she just fought. She notes that he's different. He has high combat ability and a strong will that even resembles killing intent. Yeah, she's finally starting to realize he's built different. She sees the blonde noble, Opus, waiting for her in the hall. The two villains are meeting up, but the dynamic has definitely changed. The noble kid asks if the makeup lesson is over, looking all smug. He has no idea his teacher just got her world rocked. He's gloating, thinking Will is one step closer to expulsion. He's really leaning into that punchable face of his. The professor loses it and screams at him to shut up. Her frustration is boiling over and she's taking it out on the nearest annoying person. She gets right in his face, her eyes glowing with a violet light. She's terrified for real and she's trying to warn him that thinking of Will as just a healer is a huge mistake. She tells him it's for his own good to back off. She's trying to be the voice of reason now that she's been on the receiving end of Will's therapy. The noble kid is confused and annoyed, reminding her that he can tell his father if things don't go his way. He's still playing the rich kid card like it matters. The professor just looks away, completely done with him. She tells him to go ahead and do that, calling his bluff. She knows his father can't save him from Will. She tells him that if he could actually get Will expelled, he should have done it already instead of bothering her. She's officially washing her hands of this mess. She walks past him, warning that the Omen family won't move on his words alone. She thinks it's more likely Will turn his fangs on them in the future. Foreshadowing much? She walks away down the long corridor, leaving the noble kid standing there in shock. The alliance of bullies is officially falling apart. The noble kid is furious, slamming his fist against the wall. He's clearly not ready to let go of his petty grudge. He screams into the empty hall. You can practically taste the salt from here. A few days later, and things are much quieter. A hand rests on a blue textbook. Looks like someone's actually getting some studying done for once. Will is back in class, stretching and looking incredibly relaxed. He thinks it's peaceful. Yeah, psychological warfare will do that for you. He notes that the professor must have talked to the noble kid, because now the guy just glares at him resentfully but doesn't actually do anything. Power move, Will. Will is glad he can focus on classes now, but he admits he's still not satisfied. He's got bigger goals than just passing high school. Erica is sitting next to him, working hard on her notes. It's nice to see he's actually got a friend in this shark tank of a school. He remembers his past life and the extinction of humanity. To change that future, he knows he needs to become much stronger than he is now. He thinks to himself that while his current physical enhancement is good, all he's doing is punching and kicking with all his might. He needs more variety in his moveset. Erica is chatting with him, looking all happy and cute. Will is still deep in thought, realizing that sensory enhancement is really only useful for intimidation. The screen goes white with big, bold text stating he needs to think of new ways to fight. This is the official training arc montage starting up. Will looks over as a familiar silver-haired lady walks past. He thinks about what she would say. He's asking the real pro now. Veronica just stands there looking regal and lethal in that white uniform. She's the definition of someone you don't mess with. She stops him right there, closing her eyes for a second. She's got something important to say before they get into the nitty-gritty. Will's just waiting for the verdict, looking a bit nervous out on the bridge. When an S-rank mage speaks, you listen. She tells him well done with a slight smile. Getting a compliment from her is basically like winning the lottery. Will's face says it all. He's completely stunned. Apparently, he's become the hottest topic in the teacher's lounge lately. He gives a sheepish laugh, knowing the other teachers aren't exactly thrilled about a healer being a badass. Total rebel move. He points out that it's all thanks to her advice that he's even here. He isn't hiding the fact that they've been training together. Will realizes she's kind of an isolated figure among the faculty too. Loner vibes recognize loner vibes, I guess. He's genuinely glad to have her help, giving her all the credit for his progress. He's such a humble protagonist. Veronica looks away, actually admitting that she is the one who's grateful to him. Talk about a plot twist. She starts walking away, dropping some deep knowledge about the nature of a healer's mind. She's setting the stage for something big. Suddenly, she reaches for her sword, and the mood shifts instantly. You know things are about to get spicy when the steel comes out. She's dead curious to see what a fighting healer is actually capable of. She's not just a teacher, she's a battle junkie at heart. Will is confused, asking what she's doing, and she's just standing there ready to go. No chill whatsoever. She wants to gauge his current level personally. Getting a private sparring session with her is both a blessing and a death sentence, and this is just the beginning. She launches forward, reminding him that the battlefield doesn't have a pause button. No warm-ups allowed today. Will barely has time to react as a massive impact shakes the ground. He's already in the hot seat. The fight is on, and it's a total blur of blue magic and steel. Will is working overtime just to stay in the game. He manages to catch her blade with his own daggers, gritting his teeth through the sheer force of it. This is a lot more intense than a mock battle. They're moving so fast they're basically teleporting across the arena. Sparks are flying, and the air is buzzing with mana. Will lets out a pained groan as he struggles to parry. Every hit from her feels like a mountain crashing down. He's using his reaction speed boost to the max, but it's still barely enough to keep his head on his shoulders. She is terrifying. Veronica is just a whirlwind of blades, delivering strikes non-stop. She's refined her movements to be the ultimate offensive machine. Will is breathing hard, realizing he's hitting his physical limit. Just enhancing his stats isn't going to win him this fight. He spots his one chance and decides to use a level of speed he's been keeping in his back pocket. Here comes the secret technique. He digs his feet into the dirt, kicking up a cloud of dust as he prepares to launch. It's go time. He lunges forward like a human bullet, a trail of yellow energy behind him. He's giving it everything he's got. Veronica's eyes go wide for a split second as he closes the gap. He actually caught her by surprise. A massive clashing sound echoes through the courtyard. Something definitely just got hit, and it wasn't Will. Will has that laser-focused look in his eyes. He is 100% locked in right now. Something shiny and sharp lands on the ground with a clatter. It looks like a piece of a blade. Will is holding his ground with a huge grin, and wait, is that a broken sword tip in his hand? He actually did it. Professor Veronica just stands there, looking at her empty hand. I think he just shattered her expectations, and her sword. She admits she's surprised he actually made her use her real magic sword. Now that's a badge of honor if I ever saw one. She's impressed by how calm he is after pulling off such a stunt. Will is just built different, I'm telling you. She expected him to be okay for a healer, but he's already at the level of a top-tier offensive mage his age. Big praises from the boss. She loves his ambition, but warns him that just boosting his physical stats isn't going to be enough in the long run. There's always a bigger fish. Will agrees, knowing his current bag of tricks has its limits. He's looking down at his blade, already thinking of ways to improve. He's convinced there must be other ways to use healing magic besides just hitting harder. He's deep in thought as they walk. Veronica tells him his ideas are just lacking some real combat flavor. You can't learn everything from a textbook, even a really good one. She taps her head, explaining that while knowledge is important, ideas born from experience are the real game changers. Time for some practical training. Will says it's true, remembering the intensity of their clash. He knows she's right about needing more live-action practice. He thinks they should keep sparring, but she's got a better idea. A monster subjugation field training session is coming up soon. Will looks super hyped at the mention of field training. He remembers this event from his past life, the Big 3 Academy collab. First academy on the list is Schwartz, the offensive magic specialists. These guys are basically walking explosions. Next is his former home, HEALER Academia, where all the healers hang out. That's going to be one awkward reunion. Rounding out the trio is the Silburn Swordsmanship Academy. It's basically a massive crossover event for the strongest students. Students from all 3 schools team up to take down actual monsters. It's a high-stakes team-building exercise that usually ends in blood. In his past life, he stayed on the sidelines, but this time he's going to be the one taking down the beasts. He's rewriting history one monster at a time. He's getting fired up, realizing this is his first real hunt. He looks ready to take on the whole world right now. He looks back at Veronica, but she drops the hammer. He can't just go, he has to pass a selection exam first, always with the tests. The selection exam is no joke, featuring mages throwing around some serious firepower. He's gotta show he belongs with the elites. Word on the street is, there's a new prodigy among the first years. Someone's waiting on a bench, looking totally unimpressed. Veronica tells him he should aim for first place among his classmates. No pressure, just be better than every other literal genius in the school. Will has a flashback to the monsters that ended his previous life. He vows that this time, he'll be the one defeating them to change the fate of humanity's extinction. He's looking pumped in his uniform, clenching his fist. This is his first official monster subjugation mission, and you can tell he's not planning to stay in the back lines. Will and Professor Veronica are out on the balcony discussing the selection exam. Apparently, the school's way at picking candidates is just letting them beat the brakes off each other. The competition is fierce. About 100 people apply every year, but only the absolute strongest get selected. It's a literal survival of the fittest. We see a crowd of students in their blue uniforms looking serious. This school is 100% focused on combat, and you can feel the heavy atmosphere from here. Will compares this to his old school, HEALER, where people were so lazy they'd take anyone who applied. He realizes this proactive, aggressive nature is just the Schwartz way of doing things. He has a quick flashback of his mentor at HEALER. Even while moving forward, he can't help but wonder what the old man is up to in this timeline. Will mentions the rumor that some student has already surpassed the teachers. Little does he know, he's talking about himself, and the tiny chibi opus in the background looks super salty about it. He asks Veronica if she's met this mystery prodigy yet. He's playing it totally cool, even though he just wrecked a professor a few days ago. Veronica smiles and walks away, suggesting that maybe students are just too scared of her to ask questions. Will knows she's hiding her true thoughts, but he doesn't press it. She stops and looks back with a look that says she's the boss, promising to help him with his training personally. Getting private lessons from her is a massive win for our boy. Will is absolutely ecstatic, giving her a huge thank you. He knows having a legendary mage in his corner is going to make all the difference. Fast forward to the day of the selection exam, and we see a massive Roman-style coliseum. This is where the magic happens, literally. Will walks out into the center of the arena, the morning sun hitting him. He notes that the exam day arrived in the blink of an eye. He's looking focused, mentally checking his gear and spells. He's prepared as much as possible. Now it's just time to execute the plan. Little did he know what was coming next. Someone calls out his name from behind. We see a pair of long, white-robed legs approaching. Must be someone high-ranking. It's the headmaster himself, Alniram Goldgren. He's looking very distinguished with that massive white beard. The headmaster mentions his granddaughter is doing great thanks to Will. Will just smiles, happy to hear his medical knowledge from the future is still paying off. Goldgren apologizes for not checking in sooner and asks if Schwartz has been tough on him. He knows this place can be a meat grinder for people who don't fit in. Will admits he struggled at first, but gives a confident thumbs up. He's totally fine now and ready for whatever they throw at him. He tells the headmaster he's aiming for first place in the selection exam. Goldgren just gives a jolly laugh, calling him reliable. Suddenly, a heavy shadow falls over them as someone scoffs. A voice growls that it's a joke and that it's pissing him off. Trouble has entered the chat. We get a close-up of a scarred, angry-looking dude. He's glaring at Will like he's a piece of trash that needs to be taken out. This massive mountain of a man is Bode, the field training supervisor. He looks like he eats iron for breakfast, and he's glowing with purple energy. Will recognizes him immediately. He met this guy in his past life, and the vibes are definitely still rancid. A flashback shows Bode in action, surrounded by purple lightning. He was a legendary offensive mage known as the Purple Lightning during the Great War. He achieved some truly heroic feats back in the day. Too bad his personality is as rough as a sack of rocks. Will notes to himself that he doesn't have many good memories of this guy. Clearly, Bode hasn't changed a bit between timelines. Bode flexes his muscles, preaching that combat is all about natural talent and that hard work is just a secondary concern. He's the ultimate born strong elitist. He grabs Will by the collar, lifting him up and telling him that being a healer means he has zero chance of winning. This guy is asking for another reality check. Will just stares him down with those cold, calculating eyes. He's not even a little bit intimidated by the meathead. Headmaster Goldgren tells Bode to pipe down, saying there's no point in arguing because the results will speak for themselves soon enough. Bode points out a silver-haired student behind him, saying that Will has to face their ace, Sirius. The hype is real for this next fight. The three of them stand in a tense triangle. The power gap between Bode and Will is visually massive, but we know who the real monster is here. Meet Sirius Bluenote, the school's top prodigy. He looks like a typical cool rival character who's about to get his world rocked. Will looks at Sirius, recognizing him as the main obstacle between him and first place. He's already analyzing his opponent. Will confirms that Sirius is indeed a prodigy, rumored to have already surpassed some teachers. Talk about a final boss for a first-year exam. The two of them share an intense stare-down that could probably crack glass. You could cut the tension with a magical butter knife. The headmaster taps his staff, telling everyone to get moving because it's almost time. He's done with the pre-game drama. The students march through a massive stone gate leading into the arena. It's a very gladiator vibe. Looking down from the stands, the Coliseum floor is packed with students. It's about to be a total free-for-all. We see Sirius standing among the other students, looking calm and collected. He's definitely the one to watch. Erica Glenn runs up to Will, looking panicked. She admits she's only here because her parents will cut off her allowance if she doesn't participate. Relatable. That blonde, bully noble kid from before is staring them down from across the field. He looks like he's plotting something petty. Erica is sweating buckets, admitting she really doesn't want to be here. Will is just taking it all in, looking way more relaxed than his friend. Goldgren addresses the crowd from the podium, saying how proud he is of the applicants. He tells them to let their fighting spirit clash to their heart's content. He explains the rules. This is a preliminary survival round. After a set amount of time, whoever is still standing gets to move on to the main event. Will looks around the crowded arena, thinking it's way too cramped for a 100-person battle royale. He's expecting a total mess. The headmaster slams his staff down with a smirk, telling everyone not to worry about the space. He's about to pull off some S-rank magic. Suddenly, the entire ground starts glowing and spinning like a massive galaxy. It's an insane display of high-level sorcery. The students are freaking out as a starry sky appears beneath their feet. They're about to be sent on a magical road trip. We see a close-up of a glowing gold staff head being held by the headmaster. This is some serious relic tier power being unleashed. He unleashes a massive magic circle that fills the entire arena with light. He announces that they're starting, and with a flash, the game begins. In an instant, the Coliseum is gone, and Will finds himself standing alone in the middle of a dense forest. Talk about an upgrade from a dirt arena. Will realizes he's been teleported to the forest behind the academy. It's a classic survival in the woods trope now. Goldgren's voice echoes through the air, explaining that he's randomly scattered everyone across the zone. No more crowded arenas to deal with. Poor Erica is already having a bad time elsewhere, screaming for Will while wolf shadows loom behind her. The headmaster mentions that starting position is all based on luck, and hers is clearly at 0. Sirius looks perfectly at home in the forest, his eyes glowing with readiness. He's the predator in this environment. Will is genuinely impressed, realizing that mass teleportation magic on this scale is absolutely absurd. He's starting to respect the headmaster's power a lot more. A flock of white birds flies through the trees as the exam officially begins. Let the games begin. Will starts sprinting through the woods, looking for high ground. He knows mobility is life in a forest fight. He activates presence concealment, glowing with green mana to minimize his life signs. He's officially in stealth mode. Suddenly, he hears a massive boom and stops dead in his tracks. Sounds like someone nearby is already making some noise. He peeks through the bushes and sees a girl with a giant pink hammer facing off against a massive stone golem. It's a total mismatch in size. A male student is commanding the rock golem to crush her. This school really doesn't do gentle sparring sessions. The girl isn't backing down, leaping into the air and screaming that she'll crush him with her magic hammer. That thing is almost as big as she is. Another student nearby launches a blizzard spell, trying to freeze a different golem solid. The forest is basically a multi-front war zone right now. Will watches from the shadows, realizing this is a perfect opportunity to study different offensive magics. He's not just here to pass, he's here to steal ideas. He gets a slightly devious smirk on his face. He thinks that's nice, and that he wants to use that too. This healer is about to add a lot more tools to his belt. Will is standing in the aftermath of a skirmish in the forest, looking pretty unbothered while a couple of other students are face down in the dirt. It looks like the monster they were fighting was actually just him. One student is still trying to hype up his golem, shouting about how he took down 2 people already. Dude is really leaning into that villain monologue energy before he gets wrecked. Will gives a cool, collected confirmation that he got a good look before getting right in the guy's face. This healer is officially done playing nice. Will grabs the kid's face like he's checking a piece of fruit at the market. No time for a long fight when you've got an exam to win. He hits the poor guy with a consciousness severance spell, and it looks like it hurts. It's basically a magical off switch for the brain. The student looks completely dazed, his eyes rolling back as the spell takes full effect. Sweet dreams, buddy. Will lets out a relieved sigh as the guy flops onto the grass, completely out cold. Another one bites the dust without him even breaking a sweat. He explains that he used his life force to force a blackout, which is a pretty high-level move for someone who's supposed to be a dropout. His mana control is just on another level. Will looks at the now useless rock golem, noting that this technique is perfect for neutralizing enemies without leaving a mark. It's the ultimate peaceful takedown. He gives a little shout out to Professor Veronica, happy that the training they did actually paid off in the field. Having an S-rank tutor is definitely a cheat code. Suddenly, Will's danger sense tingles and he looks over his shoulder. You can tell something is coming, and it's probably not friendly. A bunch of golden daggers slam into the ground exactly where he was standing a second ago. Whoever threw those has some serious range. A massive golden sword follows, pinning a tree to the ground. Will recognizes this magic instantly. It's that annoying blonde noble again. He lets out a tired sigh as more daggers clink into the dirt around him. It's like dealing with a persistent mosquito at this point. Opus and his goon squad show up, looking as arrogant as ever. He calls Opus predictable, which is hilarious coming from the guy who keeps losing. The 3 of them loom over Will, acting like they've already won because they have him outnumbered. They mock him for earnestly trying to pass the exam like it's a joke. Opus powers up his magic, shouting about how he's going to use all the power he has. It's 3 against 1, which is basically their only strategy. He unleashes his knife creation magic and poison enchant at the same time. Golden daggers with a purple glow, now that's an edgy combo. One of his buddies shows off a glowing purple knife, explaining that even a tiny scratch will infect Will with poison. These guys are playing dirty for a school exam. They use shatter replication magic to multiply the poison daggers until there's a whole cloud of them. Talk about absolute overkill. Opus starts cackling, telling Will that no matter how fast he is, he can't dodge this many blades. He's really feeling himself right now, which is usually a sign he's about to get humbled. The purple rain of death starts falling towards Will from every direction. It's a total bullet hell scenario. Will just stands there like he's waiting for a bus, watching the daggers close in. He's completely unfazed by the unavoidable attack. He thinks to himself that he could just heal the poison later, but dodging this many would be a pain even with his buffs. He's looking for a more efficient solution. He says he'll use this, gathering green mana in his palm. He's about to show them a trick they've definitely never seen before. He slams his hand into a wooden stump with a heavy thud. I hope he isn't planning to build a fort right now. Opus's eyes bug out as he realizes his attack just got completely blocked. He screams in total shock, asking what that is. He stares at the massive wall of wood and muscle that just appeared out of nowhere. His perfect plan just hit a literal wall, and that's when everything changed. Will has used his mana to transform the stump into a muscular wood golem. It's standing tall between him and the bullies, like a literal bodyguard. He explains that healing magic normally only works on living things, but he found a loophole. He's using it to animate the dead wood by injecting it with life force. He names the technique pseudo-life bestowal, explaining that while the golem isn't smart, he can control its basic movements. It's basically a magical marionette. The wood golem charges forward with a heavy sound, catching the bullies completely off guard. They look like they've just seen a ghost. The golem starts delivering some serious wood-related violence, smashing the bullies into the ground. One guy screams in terror while the other just cries out in fear. Opus is the only one left standing, stumbling back while his friends are being turned into paste. He yells at them not to get beaten so easily, but man, look at that golem. Suddenly, Will vanishes and reappears right behind Opus. The noble kid's face goes from angry to terrified in about 0.2 of a second. Will grabs him by the face with a look of pure coldness. This guy is officially out of chances. Will says, "Okay, good night," with a dark, shadowy grin. That is a chilling way to end a conversation. The scene shifts to another part of the forest where a rock golem is being shattered by a massive burst of blue energy. Someone else is out here cleaning house. Will is hiding up in a tree, observing the carnage from a distance. He's using his own golem to cover his weaknesses while he studies the other students' magic. Will's eyes widen as he senses a massive surge of power approaching. Something big is happening, and it's coming his way fast. A literal hurricane of blue mana rips through the forest, obliterating everything in its path. It looks more like a natural disaster than a student's spell. Will is stunned, asking what happened as the wind clears. Even he didn't expect this much destructive force. The blue tornado is humongous, stretching high above the treetops. It's a terrifying display of raw power that dwarfs everything else in the exam. Will has to leap out of his tree just to avoid being sucked into the vacuum. This isn't just training anymore, it's a zone of total annihilation. The dust settles to reveal a massive, straight line of absolute destruction through the forest. It looks like a giant plow just went through. Opus and his team are lying in the middle of the path, looking completely broken next to their shattered golem. They got caught in the crossfire, and it was not pretty. Will stands in the clearing, looking at the scorched earth. He looks impressively calm, considering a magical nuke just went off next to him. He looks towards the source of the blast, his expression going serious. He recognizes the person responsible. It's the prodigy Sirius, standing at the end of the clearing and glowing with intense blue energy. The narration says it's an impressive ability, as expected, and no kidding. Will looks at him with a mix of caution and curiosity, wondering if he should test this power himself. He's found a worthy rival at last. Suddenly, the headmaster's voice booms through the forest, declaring, "That's enough. The boss has decided the game is over before things get too out of hand." Will, Sirius, and 2 other survivors are declared the winners of the preliminaries. Out of 100 students, only these 4 managed to stay standing. The headmaster announces he's activating teleportation magic to bring them back. Will stands in a glowing magic circle, waiting for the ride home. With a flash of golden light, Will is pulled out of the ruined forest path. He's through to the main event, and he didn't even have to use his real magic. Sirius walks away without a word, looking as cool as ever. He's definitely got that final boss aura going on. Will watches him leave, noting that Sirius looks like he can't wait for tomorrow either. The hype for the finals is officially through the roof. Back in his room, Will is already hitting the books. No rest for the weary when you're trying to save the future. He's writing notes and studying for tomorrow's main event. He wonders what he should do until then, looking totally focused. Outside his door, someone knocks and asks if that isn't enough. It seems the bully squad is having a bit of a falling out. The 2 lackeys are talking to Opus in the hallway. They admit Will is genuinely strong and mention that he even healed them while they were out cold. At least they have some common sense. Opus is losing his mind, screaming about noble family teachings and how being looked down on by a healer is absolutely unbearable. This guy has some serious issues. He's clutching his head, terrified of what his father will say if he finds out about the loss. His pride is officially a dumpster fire. His friends just stare at him with dead eyes, clearly done with his tantrums. They've realized they're on a sinking ship. One of them finally snaps, telling Opus to do whatever he wants by himself because they don't want to get hurt anymore. The team is officially disbanded. Opus is left standing alone in the long, empty corridor. Talk about a lonely walk of shame. We see a split screen of Will calmly reading his book while Opus looms above in a dark, murderous shadow. He snarls that he doesn't need to beat him with magic to eliminate him. Oh boy, he's going full disgruntled noble. This can't be good. Will is trying to get some late-night studying done, but he hears a persistent knocking at his door. Someone is definitely trying to ruin his peace and quiet. He looks up from his notes, wondering who could possibly be visiting at this hour. He's already dealt with enough drama for one day, but the knocking doesn't stop. He opens the door just a crack to see who it is, looking skeptical. He's not exactly expecting a friendly face given his current reputation at the academy. It's the blonde noble kid, Opus, looking way too cheerful for a guy who just got his butt handed to him. He gives a mock polite good evening like he didn't try to get Will expelled yesterday. Will isn't buying the act for a second and asks point blank what he's scheming. Opus just smirks, pretending he just wants a peaceful talk, which we all know is a total lie. Opus stands in the doorway and drops the mask, admitting he's done plenty of things to try and force Will out. He's got that villain monologue energy going strong right now. We get a quick montage of Will effortlessly countering every petty trick the bullies have thrown at him so far. He's been playing them like a fiddle since day one. Opus gives a nasty grin, saying he should have just been direct instead of being so roundabout. He's about to drop the final warning, and it's not going to be pretty. His eyes glow with an eerie light as he commands Will to just leave the academy. He's dead serious about getting rid of the healer eyesore once and for all. Will just stands there, totally unimpressed by the intimidation attempt. He asks why Opus is so obsessed with looking down on healers, hoping to get some actual answers. Opus starts ranting about his prestigious family, the Omens, and their deep-rooted teachings. Apparently, in his family, being born a healer is basically a one-way ticket to being disowned. He flashes back to his older brother, who was apparently a weak and hopeless guy just because he was a healer. This guy's family issues are reaching critical levels. He looks disgusted, explaining that in his world, a proud mage and a pathetic healer can never be equals. It's some serious elitist garbage, but it explains his attitude. We get a close-up of Will's eye as he listens to this sob story. He's probably thinking that noble families are even more messed up than he remembered. Opus tells Will one last time to leave Schwartz, claiming it's no place for people like him. He's really convinced that his family name gives him the right to gatekeep the whole school. Will asks if Opus really thinks he'll just say he quits because of a little talk. Opus gives a creepy laugh, saying he'll make him say it soon enough. He leans in with a sadistic smile, asking Will if he has family he cares about. Oh boy, he just crossed the one line you never cross with a protagonist. Will's expression goes totally flat as he realizes what's being implied. He asks what he means, and you can already feel the temperature in the room dropping. Opus reveals he had servants investigate Will's life and found out about his sister in their remote village. He's officially threatening Will's only family, which is a massive mistake. A shadow falls over Will's face as he processes the threat. The nice student act is officially over, and Opus has no idea how much danger he's in. Opus smugly asks if he's made up his mind yet, thinking he's finally won. Will just gives a low, chilling confirmation that he has. Suddenly, Will lunges forward and grabs Opus, catching him completely off guard. The noble kid barely has time to let out a surprised sound. Will slams the bully onto the floor with a massive impact. That's for threatening the sister, you little punk. Opus is pinned to the ground, looking up in absolute terror. Will is hovering over him like a literal demon, and the healer mask has completely shattered. Will grabs the kid's arm, and you can tell he's not just looking for a handshake. Opus is begging him to stop, but his resolve just met a brick wall. Will starts applying pressure, and the look of pure agony on Opus's face is something else. He keeps screaming for him to stop, but the lesson is just beginning. Opus lets out a blood-curdling scream as his arm literally snaps. Will is showing zero mercy right now. Opus is lying there gasping for air and clutching his broken limb. He's finally learning that words have consequences, especially when they're threats. He tries to bluster, saying the academy and his father won't stay silent about this. He's still trying to hide behind his privilege while he's bleeding on the carpet. Will just starts glowing with green healing magic, looking totally unbothered. He says it's okay because he healed it, which is actually way scarier than him leaving it broken. Opus looks confused as the pain vanishes, but he's still pinned under Will's weight. He asks what Will is doing, and the answer is absolutely brutal. Will snaps the arm again with a sickening crack. He's literally creating a torture loop by healing and re-breaking the bone. Opus is in total shock, his face going pale from the repetitive trauma. He's never experienced anything this sadistic in his life. Will's hands glow again as he promises to heal it one more time. This guy is officially the most terrifying healer in the history of Manhwa. Opus is sobbing and begging for it to stop, his pride completely demolished. He's realized he isn't dealing with a student, he's dealing with a monster. Will gives a bright, cheerful smile that doesn't reach his eyes at all. He tells him that while he can ignore threats to himself, he won't stay quiet if his sister is targeted. The text bubbles are dark and jagged as Will tells him he needs to break his spirit completely. He wants Opus to swear from the bottom of his heart to never touch him again. Opus is a literal mess on the floor, thinking to himself what the hell this guy is. He's officially broken. Will stands up, bathed in a dark purple aura, looking like a demon wearing a healer's skin. He successfully traumatized the school's top bully into total submission. Opus realizes that if he stays involved with Will, he'll suffer a fate worse than death. He's finally got the message. Will waves a casual goodbye as he sends the noble kid packing. He says goodnight, like he didn't just perform a psychological execution. Opus stumbles away down the hall, looking like a walking corpse. Will just watches from the doorway, making sure the lesson really stuck. Will stretches out on his bed, thinking to himself that the whole ordeal actually felt a bit refreshing. This dude is definitely a little bit unhinged, but we love it. The next day, it's time for the main event of the selection exam. The arena is packed, and the crowd is hyped for some high-level magic duels. The headmaster is presiding over the tournament, looking regal as always. He's ready to see which of his students are truly top tier. Bode and Veronica are watching from the VIP section, and Bode is looking as grouchy as ever. He's probably just waiting for someone to get punched. Will steps out into the arena, looking calm and prepared. He's already survived a forced survival round and a midnight assassination attempt. A tournament is nothing to him. He looks over at his opponent and is surprised to see it's Erica. Talk about an awkward matchup for his first real duel. Erica explains that she mostly just used a siege strategy with walls of flame and got lucky in the prelims. She's super nervous about facing off against her only friend. Will looks at her, realizing she's just trying to survive the cut. He's got that serious competitor look on his face. Erica tries to ask him to go easy on her, but Will gives her a blunt no. Friendship is great, but a healer's gotta do what a healer's gotta do to get first place. Erica gets fired up, realizing she needs to aim for a higher evaluation to keep her parents happy. She's ready to give it everything she's got. The announcer shouts for the match to begin, and the two face off in the center of the massive stadium. Let the battle of the outcasts commence. Erica launches the first move, shouting that she's starting as she prepares a massive fire spell. She isn't holding back at all. She unleashes a giant blast of flames that roars across the arena towards Will. The firepower is actually pretty impressive for a dropout. Will is engulfed in a massive explosion of fire and smoke. The crowd is probably thinking the match is already over. Will stands calmly in the middle of the inferno, barely even sweating. He identifies it as orthodox flame magic, and notes that his constant healing can easily handle this level of heat. He prepares to just brush the flames off like they're a mild inconvenience. He's acting like he's just taking a warm shower. Suddenly, his eyes snap wide open in shock. He gasps, realizing he's seen something truly unexpected hidden deep within the fire. What did Erica just pull off? Will realizes something is definitely off here. He's surrounded by flames, and they are not acting like normal fire magic. Erica is getting fired up, literally. She screams that she's just getting started while swinging massive coils of flame around. We get a quick flashback to the fire Will took before. It seems like the properties of that flame are more complex than he thought. Will stares at the fire clinging to his sleeve, noticing it won't go out. He realizes this must be Erica's unique magic, and it's way stickier than usual. Even if her raw power is average, her flames have insane persistence. Will realizes tanking hits is a bad idea, even if he can heal through them. A quick recap reminds us that Erica's trait influenced the fire even when it was stored in the salamander's tail. This girl is a lot more dangerous than she looks. Will acknowledges that if she made a wall of flames with this stuff, getting through would be a nightmare. It really reflects her persistent, sticky personality. Erica is being her usual self, admitting she doesn't have friends either. It's kind of cute, but also kind of sad in the middle of a duel. The crowd is actually starting to give Erica some respect, shouting that she isn't half bad. Of course, they're mostly just rooting for anyone who can take down the healer. Erica has a moment of realization, wondering if she actually has a shot at winning this. She looks shocked by her own potential. She rallies her courage, reminding herself that she survived the prelims for a reason. She boldly tells Will that now is his last chance to surrender. Will just gives her a confident look and says he was about to counterattack anyway. He's already cranking up his healing magic to extinguish her fire. Erica goes for the finish, launching a massive fireball. She's putting everything she has into this one shot. Will has that classic protagonist smirk. He thinks to himself that if the flame won't burn out, then he has a plan. He literally catches the fire in his bare hand. This dude is insane. He's basically using the fire as a weapon now. Will declares he's just going to use her own fire for his attack. He's standing there with a flaming fist, looking like a total boss. Erica is completely bugging out, unable to believe he just made a flaming fist. She's realized her trick just backfired. Will charges in like a heat-seeking missile. He's closing the distance in a flash, ready to end the match. Erica is frozen in place as the flaming fist comes right at her. She can barely even make a sound before the impact. Will stops his fist right in front of her face and tells her to give up. He's a gentleman even when he's about to knock her lights out. Erica falls back onto the ground, looking completely defeated. The psychological toll of that flaming fist was enough to break her. The announcer declares, "Will the winner," as the smoke clears. He stands there looking totally unfazed by the whole thing. Even after that win, the crowd is still booing him. Will realizes that no matter how hard he fights, the bias against healers is still strong. Erica is still sitting there in shock, probably replaying that punch in her head. She's definitely got some new respect for her friend. She starts panicking, apologizing profusely for losing. She feels bad that the crowd was rooting for her only for her to fail. Will reaches out a hand to help her up, being a total bro. He tells her not to worry and that she actually put up a great fight. He starts healing her hands, giving her a reassuring smile. He thinks there's still a really good chance she'll pass the selection. Erica is clearly touched by his kindness, staring up at him with those big eyes. She says his name, looking like she's about to cry again. Suddenly, Bode pops up like a jump scare and shouts no. He's here to ruin the moment because that's just what he does. Bode looms over them like a massive shadow, and Erica is absolutely terrified. He's looking at her with total disdain. Bode gives a nasty grin and tells him to think about it. This guy really loves being the bearer of bad news. He points right at Erica, telling her she lost to a trash tier healer. Man, this guy's insults are just plain lazy. He calls her scum for forfeiting, leaning right into her space. Erica looks like she wants to disappear into the ground. Bode is practically radiating menace, telling her that no matter what, she failed. Erica is already running away in the background. Will finally speaks up, asking if that's a bit harsh to say to a student. He's standing his ground against the big guy. Bode just laughs it off, saying he has to call out low-level players. He has the audacity to call this tough love. We see a pair of boots walking past as a however bubble appears. Someone else is entering the conversation. Bode looks out over the arena, stating that only one person is going to pass. He's making the stakes as high as possible. Sirius suddenly appears next to Will and just tells him to move. The ice-cold prodigy has entered the building. Will is surprised by how quiet Sirius is, barely even noticing him walk up. The two of them side by side is a serious power duo. Sirius walks away, asking if Will shares the same opinion as Bode. He's testing Will's perspective on strength. Sirius drops some edgelord philosophy, saying strength is everything. Since Bode is strong, that makes him right in Sirius's book. Will just gives a calm response. He's clearly not buying into that might makes right nonsense. Sirius stops and admits that he thinks Will isn't weak either. That's about as much of a compliment as you'll get from this guy. As he walks off, he declares that he wants to be the one who is right. Translation, he wants to be the strongest. Will watches him go with a serious expression. He knows Sirius is going to be the biggest challenge of the entire exam. We see a shot of Sirius Blue Note standing in the arena. The name itself just sounds like main character energy. Will remembers rumors of a terrifyingly strong battle mage from his past life. It seems Sirius was a legend even in the other timeline. Sirius creates a massive hurricane of wind, keeping everyone from even getting close. It's a total zone of absolute denial. Sirius is declared the winner after returning everything to nothingness with his wind magic. He looks like he didn't even break a sweat. It's time for the final showdown, Will versus Sirius. This is the match everyone has been waiting for. Will walks into the arena, knowing Bode won't give him any respect unless he wins the whole thing. He's ready to prove the meathead wrong. Will boldly tells Sirius he's going to win this. Sirius just gives a simple acknowledgement, which is peak cool guy behavior. The announcer screams for the match to begin. The final battle is officially underway. Sirius immediately starts whipping up those blue wind currents. He's not giving Will any time to set up. The entire arena is filled with a massive, swirling windstorm. It's like standing in the middle of a literal tornado. Will is digging his heels in, trying to avoid being blown away. The sheer force of the wind is already pushing him to the limit. Will leaps through the air, trying to find a gap in the storm. He's moving like a blur despite the crazy conditions. Sirius is just watching him with those cold blue eyes. He looks like he's already predicted every move Will could possibly make. Will gets caught by a sudden burst of wind and sent flying. This fight is already starting on the back foot for our boy. He hits the ground and slides back, gritting his teeth in frustration. He gasps as he tries to regain his balance. Will stands up and realizes he can't even get near the guy. Sirius's defense is basically a wall made of hurricane force winds. The final showdown is reaching a fever pitch. Both mages are locked in and only one is walking out with the championship. Will and Sirius are locked in the ultimate stare down. You can feel the static in the air. Sirius has those cold blue eyes fixed on his target, and Will isn't blinking. Sirius starts walking away like he's already bored, but he's actually just positioning himself. Will is keeping a close watch, trying to figure out the range of that wind magic. Sirius casually charges up a glowing blue orb of mana, telling Will to take this. When a prodigy says that, you usually don't want to be the one receiving it. He unleashes a massive, swirling hurricane that swallows up half the arena. It's not just a spell, it's a literal natural disaster in a school uniform. Will is getting absolutely blasted back by the gale, struggling just to keep his feet on the ground. This isn't a targeted attack, it's an everything in that general direction dies kind of move. Will braces himself, glowing with that familiar green healing aura. He realizes if he doesn't do something fast, he's getting tossed right out of the arena bounds. He decides it's time to stop holding back and bring out the big guns. He drops into a low crouch, focusing every bit of mana he has left into the ground. A huge gust of wind sweeps across the field, clearing out the dust and debris. Sirius is clearly putting on a show for the crowd now. Will slams his hand onto the arena floor, and a small wooden sprout pops out of the dirt. If this is his big plan, he's going to need a very fast-growing fertilizer. Erica is watching from the stands, looking completely dumbfounded. She's seen Will do some crazy things, but she's wondering if this gardening is actually healing magic too. Suddenly, the sapling explodes into a massive tree that towers over the entire stadium. Will is just a tiny dot at the bottom of a literal skyscraper made of wood. Will looks up with a satisfied smirk, his plan working perfectly. He's just completely rewritten the rules of the match with one giant plant. We get a close-up of the vibrant green leaves rustling in the wind. This isn't just any tree, it's practically vibrating with the life energy Will poured into it. Professor Veronica looks down at the massive canopy, her eyes wide with shock. She mutters in disbelief, realizing Will just pulled off something legendary. Will explains the logic. He infused life energy into a plant to force it into rapid hypergrowth. It's basically magical steroids for the environment. He mentions he found a book in the library about offensive plant manipulation. See, kids? This is why you actually do your homework before a fight. Will looks like he's about to collapse, sweat pouring down his face as he admits he's almost out of mana. Turns out growing a forest in 5 seconds is a bit of a drain. Suddenly, a hand drops onto his shoulder, and he lets out a startled sound. Someone managed to sneak up on the guy who just grew a giant tree. It's Professor Veronica checking in to see if he's actually still alive. Will is holding his head, looking totally spent but happy he pulled it off. He gives a sheepish laugh, admitting the textbook didn't mention the spell would be such a mana hog. Yeah, usually world-shaping magic is an elective for a reason. Veronica gives him a knowing look and says she suspected as much. Will is totally confused, repeating her words like he's missing the punchline. She breaks it down for him. Healing consumes way more mana because building things is harder than destroying them. It's basically the construction versus demolition rule of magic. Will processes the info, realizing he needs to be way more efficient if he wants to survive the rest of this match. He's already running on fumes. Back in the arena, Will gets back into a fighting stance. He knows he has zero talent for traditional offensive spells, so he's sticking to his weird healer DPS build. Sirius is just standing there like a statue, completely unfazed by the giant tree. This guy's poker face is honestly S rank. Sirius flicks his wrist and sends a barrage of wind blades screaming through the air. Will is ducking and weaving, barely keeping his skin attached. Will watches the air ripple with every strike, noting that Sirius is way more versatile than he thought. It's like fighting a sentient tornado. A quick flashback shows a younger Sirius looking determined. He made a vow to get stronger with this magic, and he clearly meant it. Will stares down his opponent, admitting that Sirius is definitely worthy of his prodigy title. It's not every day you meet a rival this legit. He clenches his fist, green sparks dancing between his fingers. He's pushing his body to the limit one more time. Will takes off in a blur of speed, the ground cracking under his boots. He's going all in for one final strike. Sirius doesn't even move, just unleashing a massive vortex of blue wind. He says no matter how many times Will tries, he can't reach him. Talk about a shutdown. Will gets caught in the centrifugal force and sent spinning like a rag doll. He grunts, trying to find some traction in the air. Sirius looks down, but then his eyes widen. Something is moving through the dust cloud, and it's not Will. Out of nowhere, a massive wooden pillar slams into Sirius's shoulder with a sickening thud. The prodigy just got blindsided by a piece of lumber. Sirius is reeling, staring at the log like it just offended his entire bloodline. He's genuinely confused about how he got hit. Will points out the obvious flaw. A tornado protects you from the sides, but not from the ground below. He used underground roots to bypass the defense. Sirius is clutching his bleeding shoulder, looking absolutely stunned. He's actually taking damage, and you can tell he isn't used to it. Will asks him if he really cares about Professor Bode that much. He's trying to figure out why a genius like Sirius is following a meathead's orders. Professor Bode is watching from the stands, looking predictably miserable. The tough love routine doesn't seem to be working for him right now. Will pushes the issue, asking why someone from a famous noble family needs to learn from a guy like that. He's digging deep into Sirius's motivation. Sirius goes quiet for a second, then states coldly that in his family, magical strength is the only thing that matters. It's a pretty grim worldview. He explains that age and gender are irrelevant. The strongest person rules the house. Everyone is an enemy, even his own father. No wonder he's so antisocial. He says that following the professor is just the fastest way to get the power he needs. It's not about respect, it's about becoming the head of the family. Sirius starts glowing with an intense blue light, asking if they're done talking because his shoulder is starting to hurt. The chat is officially over. The crowd, including Erica, is watching with bated breath. This isn't just a school match anymore, it's personal. Sirius unleashes a massive dragon made of pure blue wind mana. He says they should settle this. He's finally stopped playing around. Will braces himself against the hurricane force winds, realizing that Sirius is going for the kill. This is the real final boss fight. Will thinks to himself that watching these mages is actually getting pretty fun. He's starting to enjoy the thrill of a real battle for the first time. He realizes that talent doesn't make someone superior. It's what you do with it that counts. He's standing firm in the face of the storm. A golden light flares up around Will as he rejects the idea that pedigree matters. He mutters that this is exactly why he feels a certain way. He gives a fierce, excited grin and tells Sirius he really wants to beat him now. The target just changed from first place to total victory. Sirius asks if that's a declaration, looking a bit surprised by Will's sudden shift in energy. Will just says he was talking to himself. Will activates a huge orange magic circle on the ground. He announces that he's using his special seed. This is about to get messy. Massive green vines burst from the ground, lashing out at everything in sight. It looks like the arena is being reclaimed by nature. Will shouts, Yggdrasil, as a giant glowing green orb of mana appears. He's calling on the legendary world tree for some help. He notes that growing something this big, this fast, is a massive drain on his mana. He's essentially betting his whole reserve on this one attack. The green mana pulses with a blinding light, and Sirius has to shield his eyes. It's like a sun is being born right in the middle of the stadium. The blue wind dragon and the green vines collide in a massive explosion of mana. It's a total clash of titans. Sirius looks absolutely exhausted, his uniform shredded and blood staining his clothes. He's finally found his equal on the battlefield. He stares at the glowing crater, trying to see if Will is still standing. The silence after the explosion is deafening. A single leaf floats through the air, signifying the aftermath of the chaos. It's a surprisingly peaceful shot after all that destruction. A huge branch from the Yggdrasil tree reaches out, glowing with an intense green light. It looks more like a claw than a limb. Sirius watches in horror as the giant branch looms over him. He's realized too late that Will still has some gas in the tank. Sirius is speechless as a literal forest sprouts inside the stadium. He gasps, completely overwhelmed. Will explains that this plant has especially high vitality, growing into a giant from just a single branch. He's basically turned biology into a weapon. Sirius is sweating buckets, his face pale with fear. He realizes his wind dragon isn't going to be enough to stop this thing. The massive branch slams down into the arena with a deafening impact. The shockwave is so big it looks like it might level the whole building. Sirius is literally sweating bullets right now. His eyes are glowing with an intense blue light, but you can tell he's pushed himself way past his limits. A massive explosion rocks the arena, sending dirt and debris everywhere. The sheer force of the impact shows that nobody was holding back in this fight. Sirius is face down in the dirt, completely exhausted. He's panting and struggling to even lift his head after that last exchange. Will stands tall in the middle of the stadium while the crowd goes absolutely wild. He's just defeated the school's top prodigy, and people don't even know how to react. It's game over for Sirius. He's slumped against a rock, staring at the ground as he finally admits the unthinkable, that he lost. The verdict is official. Will is the winner. He stands there looking like a total boss, proving to everyone that a healer can actually take the top spot. The audience is in a state of pure shock. They can't believe a trash-tier healer actually beat a combat genius like Sirius in a straight-up duel. Sirius is looking completely broken, with his hair covering his eyes. His pride just took a massive hit, and he's probably questioning everything right now. Will walks over and acknowledges the struggle, saying it was a close fight. He still respects Sirius's talent, even if he came out on top this time. But then Will drops a bit of a truth bomb. Sirius was good, but not good enough. Talk about a brutal reality check from your fellow student. Suddenly, the vibe shifts to something much darker. A voice booms out of nowhere saying he's disappointed, and you can practically feel the killing intent filling the air. A massive pillar of purple energy slams into the ground. This isn't part of the exam. Someone very powerful just decided to crash the party. Sirius is pinned under a huge wooden beam from the wreckage. He's unconscious and at the mercy of whatever just landed in the arena. Enter Bode, the field training supervisor, and he is absolutely livid. He lands with a thunderous crash, making it clear he's not here for a friendly chat. Bode grabs Sirius by the collar like he's a sack of potatoes. He doesn't show an ounce of sympathy for his star student who just got beaten. Bode looms over everyone, telling Sirius he's a failure. He's already planning some retraining that sounds more like a trip to a meat grinder. The students in the stands are murmuring that this is way too harsh. Even for a strict academy, Bode's behavior is crossing some serious lines. Bode turns his rage on the entire audience, calling them all idiots. This dude is really speedrunning the most hated teacher award. Bode is practically radiating demonic energy now. He screams that he can't accept a healer taking first place, making his blatant discrimination clear to everyone. Erica and the other students are visibly trembling. Bode's presence is so overwhelming, they look like they're expecting to get blasted just for sitting there. Will finally steps up and asks the question on everyone's mind. Isn't this going too far? He's the only one with enough guts to talk back to this monster. Will defends the match, saying it was a fair, close fight and that Sirius isn't weak. He's standing up for his rival against their own teacher. Bode snaps back, telling him not to talk back. He's got zero patience for logic when his ego and biases are being challenged. Bode steps closer, mocking the idea that it was a good fight with promise for the future. In his world, there are only winners and trash. Bode doubles down on his strength is everything, philosophy. He tells Will that on a real battlefield, ability is the only thing that keeps you alive. He looks down at Will and Sirius, telling them that if you lose, you're treated like trash and you die. It's a pretty grim worldview for a school teacher. We get a close-up of Will's eyes, and they've gone cold. He's hearing Bode loud and clear, and he's definitely not impressed by the edgelord act. Will pushes back, pointing out that he's already proven his ability. He refuses to be looked down on just because his class is healer. Bode's aura intensifies, his eyes glowing white with pure malice. The narration notes his level of strength is on a completely different planet compared to the students. A wide shot shows the scale of the confrontation. Bode is a massive tank of a man, literally wrapped in chains, looming over the much smaller Will. Will tries to explain the concept of division of roles. He argues that while healers don't fight on the front, they keep the army alive from the back. He gets passionate, shouting that if they don't work together as a team, all of humanity is going to perish. He's seen the end of the world, so he knows what he's talking about. Bode stays silent for a moment, but you can tell something just clicked in his head. A shadow covers his face as he prepares to drop some trauma. Bode flashes back to his time in the Great War. He remembers how his students stayed on the front lines just so the rear troops could run away. He recounts how those kids got wiped out pathetically while fleeing from small fry monsters. It's clear this loss is what turned him into such a bitter guy. We see a memory of a blood-splattered corpse. Bode yells that his students came back battered and died because there was nowhere for them to return to. Bode stands over a fallen soldier in his memory, blaming healers for not being able to save them. He views everyone in the rear as a coward who let his real warriors die. Close up on Bode's eye, filled with years of pent-up rage. He calls everyone like Will trash, showing just how deep his hatred goes. He screams out his frustration, asking why his star student Sirius has to lose to someone like Will. He's completely lost it. Will stands amidst a collage of war and extinction. He knows Bode is wrong, but he also knows that in a world about to be overrun by vicious monsters, being weak isn't an option. The visions of the future extinction flash before Will's eyes. He realizes that an era of even more powerful monsters is coming, and humanity isn't ready. Will clenches his fist with a look of absolute resolve. He knows that when the real war starts, the strong won't have the luxury of being selfish and biased. Will makes a bold declaration that rings through the whole stadium. If strength is the only thing people like Bode respect, then he'll just become the strongest. Will challenges Bode directly. He asks if the professor will finally acknowledge him if he manages to win a fight against him. This kid is absolutely crazy. Bode gives a wide, terrifying grin. He's actually amused that a student is trying to take him on, and you know he's going to enjoy this lesson. Bode yells at another student to take the weaklings, the injured Sirius, and get out of the way. He's clearing the stage for a real bloodbath. The two of them face off in the ruined arena. Bode reminds everyone that when it comes to the selection exam, he's the one who makes the rules. Will looks over his shoulder as the arena clears out. He's totally focused, ready to show this purple lightning what a real combat healer can do. One of the teachers or staff members is watching from the side, looking like they're about to have a heart attack. This special match is definitely not approved in the handbook. The title card appears for the most anticipated fight of the year, a special match between Bode and Will, the underdog healer versus the legendary war hero. A close-up of their boots on the sand as the announcer screams for them to begin. The wait is finally over, and it's time for some serious magic. Bode doesn't waste a second, charging up a massive orb of purple mana. He shouts that he's going to prove right here just how low-level Will really is. Will is standing his ground in the arena, but he's definitely feeling the burn. He realizes his magic is bottoming out, and he's facing the toughest opponent of his life. He charges up a final bit of green mana in his hands, knowing he can't win a normal slugfest. It's time to get creative if he wants to survive this. Bode doesn't give him a second to breathe, lunging forward with a massive punch. He shouts that Will is too slow, like he's already won the fight. Will's eyes go wide as he realizes he can't dodge this one in time. The purple lightning is living up to its name. A massive explosion of purple lightning magic detonates right in the center of the arena. It looks like a literal bomb went off. The dust settles, revealing a giant, smoking crater in the middle of the stadium. It's hard to imagine anyone walking away from that hit. Bode stands tall, looking completely unbothered as he starts lecturing. He's counting off the 3 reasons why his victory is absolute. He breaks down his advantages: perfect distance to suppress the enemy, speed that prevents action, and the power to end things in one strike. This guy is the ultimate elitist. Bode starts laughing, mocking Will through the cloud of smoke. He asks if Will can even hear him anymore, basically assuming he's already dead. But then, Bode's expression shifts to pure shock. He realizes something is very wrong with the one strike he just delivered. Will is still standing, looking battered and coughing through the smoke, but he's definitely alive. He's clutching his side, showing that he took some serious damage though. Will looks up with a sharp gaze, admitting he knew Bode had unique lightning magic. He's a regressor after all. He's been studying this guy's moves for years. We get a diagram of Will's body showing how he prioritized his defense. He knew he had to protect his brain and heart at all costs, or no amount of healing magic would save him. He explains that he actually created a blood circuit using his mana to conduct the electricity. This kid is literally hacking his own biology in the middle of a fight. The diagram shows the electricity entering his arm, passing through his leg, and going straight into the ground. He's basically turned himself into a human lightning rod. Will stands up and glows with green mana, declaring that it's time for his counterattack. He's not out of the game yet. Bode clicks his tongue, looking genuinely annoyed that his absolute victory didn't happen. He's starting to realize Will is a major pain in the neck. Will launches himself forward, his legs glowing with physical enhancement magic. He's putting every last drop of mana into this movement. Suddenly, Will stumbles and falls to his knees, clutching his chest. He realizes he can't properly put power into his body anymore. Bode looms over him, explaining that the absolute rule of his purple lightning is total paralysis. Even if you survive the hit, your body stops listening to you. Will is struggling on the ground, realizing just how bad the situation is. Bode is already winding up his next big move. A massive surge of purple lightning erupts from Bode, lighting up the entire stadium. He's not taking any more chances with this healer. Erica watches from the stands, looking completely terrified as Will gets blasted again. The pressure from Bode is just on another level. Bode gives a maniacal laugh, shouting that his unique magic has no openings. He's really leaning into that unstoppable villain energy. Will is gritting his teeth, his body trembling as he tries to force himself to stand. He's taking a beating, but he's still in the fight. He looks up with a look of pure determination. He says that even so, he's decided to win. This guy's willpower is his real S-rank skill. He slams his hand onto the arena floor, shouting that this is his last seed and his last bit of magic. He's betting everything on one final trick. A massive wooden pillar bursts out of the ground, twisting like a giant braid. Will's plant manipulation is finally getting serious. Will screams out the name of his new spell, the Water Treasure Tree. He's calling on nature itself to bail him out. A humongous, glowing tree erupts in the middle of the stadium, towering over both of them. It's an incredible display of high-speed growth magic. Will explains that this tree absorbs and stores massive amounts of water from the earth. He's planning to use it as a massive, soggy shield to disperse the lightning. Bode just gives a cold response and charges up even more purple electricity. He thinks a big tree isn't going to stop the purple lightning. Will looks up in terror as a massive bolt of lightning comes screaming down toward him. This is the moment of truth. The lightning strike hits the tree, and the energy spreads out across its damp branches. Will's plan worked. The electricity is being grounded. The tree is split right down the middle and smoking, but it held long enough to save Will. He's kneeling in the center of the wreckage, looking exhausted. Bode walks through the smoke, mocking the pathetic defensive technique. He thinks Will has finally run out of options. Bode stops suddenly, hearing a weird bubbling sound from behind a tree stump. He's looking very confused all of a sudden. A bunch of red, glowing mushrooms start rapidly popping up out of the ground. It looks like a scene from a fairy tale gone wrong. Bode shouts, asking what the hell this is as the mushrooms keep growing. He's completely losing his cool now. Will is on the ground, breathing hard but giving a small smirk. He knew exactly what he was doing when he let that lightning hit the ground. He explains that certain plants and mushrooms grow at insane speeds when they're hit by lightning. He basically used Bode's own power to plant a trap. He identifies them as foam blower mushrooms, and they start releasing a thick cloud of glowing spores. This is the real final move. Bode looks at the spores, realizing too late that he's in trouble. He's just standing there looking totally bewildered. We get a close-up of Bode's eye as it goes wide with shock. He's starting to feel the effects of the foam blower spores. Bode catches his chest, gasping that his body is going numb. The spores are a natural paralytic. The hunter just became the prey. Will lunges forward with his fist glowing with intense green energy. He shouts that at this distance, it's over, closing the gap instantly. Will delivers a massive, green glowing punch straight into Bode's gut. The impact is so big, it looks like it's going to punch a hole right through him. Talk about an S-rank finisher. Will puts everything he has into a green glowing fist, slamming it right into Professor Bode's stomach. It looks like a huge hit, but let's see if it actually did anything to this absolute tank of a man. Bode just gives him this terrifyingly calm look, his yellow eyes glowing with murder. You can tell he's completely unfazed and about to deliver a world-class beatdown. The counterattack is instant. Bode's fist is crackling with purple lightning as he clocks Will right in the face. Our boy is sent flying, coughing up blood from the sheer force of that impact. Will is on his knees, barely keeping his lunch down while Bode stands over him looking totally unimpressed. He says Will is an idiot and that he's obviously superior in close combat too. Honestly, it's hard to argue with that right now. Bode starts explaining his cheat code. His unique magic lets him move at accelerated speeds with electricity, making Will's paralysis tricks useless. He's standing there looking like a raid boss that just entered Phase 2. Will is struggling just to stay conscious, his body trembling from the damage. He's starting to realize that even with all his future knowledge, the gap in raw power is just too huge to bridge right now. Bode looks down with zero mercy, his eyes practically glowing with finality. He's done playing around and officially declares this as Will's loss. He raises a hand crackling with purple energy, ready to end the match and probably Will's career with one final strike. Things are looking incredibly grim for our protagonist. Out of nowhere, a flash of silver intervenes as Professor Veronica steps in to block the blow. She's standing her ground between the two powerhouses, looking as cool as ever. She's got her sword drawn, the tip pointed right at Bode's throat as she asks if he's going a bit too far. Talk about a legendary entrance. She's not letting her favorite student get turned into paste. Veronica is radiating blue mana, looking absolutely lethal and authoritative. She's calling Bode out by name, and you can feel the tension in the arena reaching a breaking point. Bode lets out a frustrated huff, his lightning fading slightly as he realizes he's been stopped. He's clearly not happy about the interruption, but he isn't quite ready to fight another professor. Bode tells her not to butt in, calling her a new hire like that's supposed to offend her. He's still acting like a jerk, but at least he's stopped attacking for a second. Will is just staring up at her from the dirt, looking completely dazed and sweating like crazy. He's probably wondering how he got lucky enough to have an S-rank protector. Bode argues that since Will can heal himself, he should keep fighting, but Veronica isn't having any of it. She knows that just because you can heal doesn't mean you can keep going forever. She points out that Will is out of mana and stamina, making any further fighting completely pointless. She's all logic and no nonsense, protecting her student's health over Bode's ego. Bode starts powering up again, yelling that Will just lacks fighting spirit. This guy is a total dinosaur when it comes to training methods. He just wants to see people suffer. Veronica glows with a brilliant blue aura, telling him this whole conversation is pointless. She's ready to throw hands with him if that's what it takes to end the match. The two professors charge at each other, purple lightning clashing against blue wind. It's an insane power display that makes the previous matches look like child's play. They're locked in a fierce stare-down, neither one willing to back down. Suddenly, a massive voice booms through the arena, telling both of them that's enough. Headmaster Alnaram intervenes, appearing in a flash of white hair and authority. He's standing between them, looking totally disappointed in his staff's behavior. He tells them that having two professors fight in front of the students is what's truly pointless. He's finally putting his foot down and ending this circus. He unleashes a wave of mana that forces them apart, showing why he's the big boss. He's totally in control of the situation now. He looks directly at Bode and tells him to stop this immediately. Bode just looks away, clearly biting his tongue because he knows he can't win an argument with the headmaster. We see a split screen of the headmaster giving a knowing smirk while Bode looks absolutely salty. It's clear who won this round of politics. Bode finally gives in with a grumpy fine. He's officially ending his vendetta for the day, much to everyone's relief. The headmaster turns to Veronica and apologizes for not explaining things properly. She just looks at him with a silent, questioning expression, probably wondering what's going on. Bode is seen adjusting his gear, looking like a grumpy cat that just got sprayed with water. He's done with the spotlight for now. Alniram addresses the whole stadium, announcing that the main event of the selection exam is officially over. He tells everyone to exit promptly. Show's over, folks. The students start clearing out of the stands, whispering about the crazy stuff they just saw. It's definitely a day the Academy won't forget anytime soon. Will is left on the ground, glowing with a faint green light as he tries to heal his broken body. He's exhausted, but his mind is still racing. He's gritting his teeth in frustration, realizing how massive the gap in power still is. He thinks that he doesn't want to lose, already planning his next power-up. Veronica walks over and picks Will up in a princess carry like it's the most natural thing in the world. Talk about a power move. She's not letting him walk home in that condition. Will is looking totally surprised, probably blushing a bit as his favorite professor carries him out of the arena. It's a surprisingly tender moment after all that violence. She tells him she thinks he did well and tells him to stop pushing himself and just rest. She's being a total mom right now, and it's actually kind of sweet. Will just stares at her in shock as her words sink in. He's finally getting some genuine praise, and it clearly means a lot to him. He looks down with a calm expression and whispers that he understands. He's finally letting go of the tension from the fight. As she carries him away into the light, Will thinks to himself that doing well just isn't good enough. He's determined to reach a level where he doesn't need to be carried. A text box tells us that the night has passed, and we see students walking through the halls of the academy. Life goes back to normal, or as normal as it gets in a school for mages. Will is walking through the corridor, reflecting on Bodhi's strength and tactical refinement. He realized that a first-class offensive mage is on a completely different level than anything he's faced so far. He looks at a mental image of the Academy's top brass, reminding himself that even with their power, humanity still perished. He knows he has to become much stronger than even them if he wants to change the future. He stops at a door and gives a polite "excuse me" as he enters. It looks like he's got an appointment with someone important. The headmaster is waiting for him inside his study, looking pleased to see him. He welcomes Will, glad he came. Will tells him that as soon as his magic returns, he'll be fully healed. He's already back on his feet and ready for the next challenge. The headmaster says that in that case, participating in field training shouldn't be a problem. Will is totally shocked. He thought he failed after losing to Bodhi. He learns that Sirius and Erica also passed the exam. We see a shot of Erica looking absolutely terrified and shouting in disbelief that she passed too. She clearly didn't expect to make the cut. Will is confused because Bodhi said everyone failed, but the headmaster just laughs it off. Apparently, Bodhi does that every year just to stir up the students and make them work harder. He explains that it's Bode's way of drawing out their true potential through a sense of crisis. It's a total tough love strategy that seems to work, even if it's annoying. We see a silhouette of Bode, and the headmaster says this is just his way of being a proper teacher. It turns out the guy might not be a total villain after all. Will looks reflective as he takes this in, admitting that it actually makes some sense. He's starting to see the method behind Bodhi's madness. He flashes back to the Great War where Bodhi fought on the front lines as a hero. He realizes that while he can't agree with the guy's actions, Bode definitely has his own pride as a warrior. The headmaster tells Will that he'll be forming a party with students from other academies as an offensive mage. This is the big step he's been waiting for. He's officially been tasked with actual monster subjugation requests. Will is standing tall, looking ready to put all his training to the test in the real world. A final text panel declares that this will be his first time facing actual monsters since his regression. The training wheels are officially off. Let the real hunting begin. Will reflects on the dire future he witnessed, the dawn of the red moon that signaled the beginning of the end for humanity. Those visions of destruction are what drive him to change everything this time around. He notes that originally monsters weren't all mindless killing machines. They were simply creatures with magical power. Some were even peaceful enough to be ignored or lived alongside. Back then, monster attacks were just a part of the natural cycle of survival and competition. It was dangerous, sure, but it wasn't an all-out war for extinction yet. Soldiers were used to dealing with aggressive beasts as a part of their regular duties. It was a manageable threat that defined the lives of many warriors in this era. If you knew how they lived, some monsters could even be utilized by humans as neighbors or helpers. It was a world of balance that Will knows is about to be shattered. The grim reality hangs over him. In just 2 short years, the fundamental nature of the world is going to change forever. The clock is ticking, and only he knows it. It all starts with the red moon, a cosmic event that bathes the world in an eerie light and turns even the most peaceful monsters into vicious predators. This is the catalyst for the coming apocalypse. Under the moon's influence, monsters that used to fight each other begin to band together across species lines. Imagine orcs, goblins, and beasts all working with a single, terrifying purpose. They stop hunting for food and start killing humans simply for the sake of killing. It's a mindless, bloodthirsty frenzy that humanity was completely unprepared for. And then, the real nightmare begins, the descent of the Demon King. 2 years into the chaos, the ultimate architect of destruction finally makes his appearance. Nations fall and millions die as humanity is pushed back into a corner. The world Will remembers is one of constant fire, falling cities, and total despair. The strongest offensive mages and knights were the first to throw themselves into the grinder, dying one after another in a desperate attempt to hold the line. Their bravery only bought a little more time. Even the healers who stayed in the rear weren't safe. When the front lines inevitably collapsed, they were slaughtered like everyone else. There was truly nowhere left to hide. By the time Will's first life ended, the world was a graveyard. There were almost no fighters left to stand against the tide. Humanity was months away from total extinction, with their final bastions burning to the ground. That's the tragedy that Will is determined to prevent at any cost. He clenches his fist, his resolve harder than steel. He won't let history repeat itself. He's going to use every second of this second chance to prepare. He knows he needs more than just his old healing spells. He needs the raw offensive power to counter a massive, coordinated invasion. He's training to be the weapon humanity never had. Back in the library, the headmaster continues the briefing, unaware that his student has already lived through the horrors he's describing. The mention of the red moon clearly strikes a chord with Will. The old man is impressed by the fire in Will's eyes. He thinks that Will has such determination, realizing his newest student is carrying a weight far beyond his years. He assures Will that at his current rate, he'll be just fine for the upcoming training. Will is already thinking ahead, noting that the faculty seems way more nervous about this field training than he is. The headmaster places a fatherly hand on Will's shoulder, wanting to give him one last piece of advice before the mission. He really seems to have taken a liking to our protagonist. Will looks up, all ears for whatever wisdom the most powerful mage in the academy is about to drop. He knows better than to ignore advice from a legend. Outside, the courtyard is bustling as carriages arrive to transport the students. The scale of this joint field training is finally starting to set in. The squad is finally assembled by the carriage: Will, Erica, and Professor Veronica. They're looking like a solid team, even if Erica looks like she's about to faint from stress. Will notices a familiar, grumpy presence approaching. It seems they won't be leaving without one last encouragement from the faculty. Enter Professor Bode, leading Sirius along like he's on a leash. This guy really knows how to suck the air out of a room just by showing up. Will tries to play it cool, acknowledging that Bode's strict guidance comes from a place of caring for his students. He's laying the diplomacy on thick. Bode just gives him a massive, confused look like Will just spoke a foreign language. This dude's default setting is aggressively annoyed. He gets right in Will's personal space, calling him weakling trash and telling him not to get cocky just because he passed an exam. Will just gives a shaky yes, while realizing the guy is never going to change. Bode shouts at him to work hard on his field training before stomping off. In his weird, twisted world, that probably counts as a good luck wish. But then, he stops and says he'll thank him for treating Sirius. Wait, did the Grinch's heart just grow 3 sizes? That's probably the closest thing to a thank you Will is ever going to get from him. Will and Sirius share a moment of silence. Sirius adds his own quiet thank you, proving he's actually a decent guy under all that brooding. Will thinks that Sirius is still so quiet. They're standing by the carriage and the air is way less tense than it was 5 minutes ago. Sirius clenches his fist, looking more determined than ever. He's grateful that Will healed him so he can get back to training and reach even greater heights. He's clearly taken Bode's brutal philosophy to heart. To him, strength isn't just a goal, it's the only way to live. Sirius gives a sharp, slightly scary smirk, thinking that as long as you survive and can get revenge, it's not a loss. This guy's definitely been attending the Bode School of Hard Knocks. Will encourages him to get stronger, knowing that every powerful ally will be needed when the red moon finally rises. He's playing the long game here. The two rivals share a silent moment of understanding. They're on different paths, but they're both aiming for the top. A solid fist bump seals the deal. They've gone from enemies to rivals to, well, let's call them mutually respecting combatants. They part ways, each focused on their own mission. Sirius looks ready to go through a brick wall, while Will is just happy to have one less person trying to kill him. Will reflects on how having more elite offensive mages is a win for everyone. If he can turn his former enemies into competent defenders, humanity might actually stand a chance. The team finally loads up, and the carriage prepares to depart. It's a peaceful scene, but you can feel the underlying tension of the dangerous mission ahead. Will shouts that he's coming as he climbs aboard. He's actually looking forward to some real field experience after all that school drama. The carriage rattles along a forest path, the destination being Dunkel Forest. Professor Veronica is already getting into mission commander mode, preparing to brief them on the details. The objective is simple, a goblin subjugation request. It's a classic first mission trope, but in this world, even basic monsters can be lethal if you're sloppy. They're forming a 4-person party, with Veronica acting as the high-level support. Poor Erica is already vibrating with anxiety, wondering who the mystery 4th member is going to be. Veronica confirms that Erica is indeed in their party. Erica's internal monologue is a mess. She's happy to be with friends, but she's also terrified of the scary Professor Veronica. They reach a clearing and the carriage stops. Will notices something, or rather, someone, waiting for them outside. Veronica says the Silburn participant is already here as she opens the door. Silburn is the swordsmanship academy, so they're getting a frontline specialist. Will steps out, trying to remember any notable Silburn students from his past life. He wasn't really acquainted with that crowd before his regression, so he's expecting a stranger. Suddenly, a high-pitched cry for Master Will rings through the clearing. Who the heck is calling out to him with so much enthusiasm? A beautiful blonde girl in a Silburn uniform comes sprinting out of nowhere with a huge smile. She looks like she's been waiting for this moment her entire life. She tackle hugs Will before he can even react. She cries that she's been waiting for the day she can meet him, looking like the happiest person on earth. Everyone else is just standing there with a giant confused expression. Will is being smothered, Veronica looks bored, and Erica is having a total internal meltdown. Will gasps for her to wait a minute, trying to gently pry her off. He's being polite but firm, apologizing and saying he has no idea who she is. Ouch, talk about a mood killer. The girl finally lets go, looking a bit sheepish but still glowing with happiness. She says she sees, her smile never wavering for a second. She fixes her hair with a graceful motion, admitting they didn't really get a chance to talk properly back then. Will is doing some fast mental math to figure out where they met. She introduces herself as Marie Goldgran, the granddaughter of the headmaster. This is the girl Will cured of that incurable Zora disease earlier in the story. A close-up of Will's eye as the pieces finally fall into place. He's completely stunned by the transformation. He gasps, realizing it's her from that time. The frail, bedridden girl he saved has become a vibrant, energetic warrior student. We get a quick mental montage of Marie when she was at death's door compared to the radiant girl standing before him now. Talk about an S-rank recovery. Will's healing really is a miracle. Will is walking alongside Marie Goldgran, thinking about how far she's come. He clearly remembers how fragile she looked when he first treated her at the headmaster's home. Marie turns to him with a polite bow, still feeling guilty about their first meeting. She's apologizing for being so out of it back then that she couldn't even thank him properly. Her eyes are full of gratitude as she explains how much she's wanted to repay the favor. Saving her life wasn't just a job for Will, it changed her entire world. We get a look at the new Marie in action, and she's a total beast. She's enrolled in Silburn Academy and has been training her heart out with the sword. The results speak for themselves. Look at that leaderboard. She managed to snag the top spot in the Academy's selection exam. She gives a little giggle, admitting that she might actually have a hidden talent for the blade. Talk about a glow-up from a bedridden patient to a top-tier warrior. Will is genuinely shocked, thinking to himself that becoming a top student that quickly is nothing short of monstrous. He's starting to realize just what kind of power he unleashed when he healed her. They share a firm handshake, sealing their bond as teammates. Marie is dead serious when she promises to be a huge help to him on this mission. Will gives a warm smile, agreeing that since they're in the same party, they should aim for the top together. It's the start of a legendary duo. Suddenly, another carriage rolls up to the meeting spot. Will wonders if this is what the headmaster meant when he said he was counting on him. Marie spots the arrivals and starts dragging Will toward them with infectious energy. She tells him someone from HEALER has arrived and they should go greet them. Erica and Professor Veronica watch the two kids run off from a distance. Erica is sweating, wondering if they're having too much fun, while Veronica thinks the party atmosphere is finally picking up. As they get closer to the carriage, Marie is already calling out for their new teammates. She's definitely the social butterfly of the group. She peeks right into the door, asking if Master Ren and Master Turf are inside. Will looks a bit confused by the names. Will's eyes go wide at the mention of the name Ren. You can tell he's just realized he might know this person from a very long time ago. A man with messy purple hair starts to step out, sounding a bit tired of Marie's enthusiasm. He grumbles at her not to rush him, that he's coming out now. We get a close-up of his sturdy traveling boots hitting the grass. This guy has the vibe of someone who's seen a lot of miles. The man steps into the light and introduces himself simply as Ren. He's looking the group over, wondering if these kids are actually ready for what's coming. A title card confirms his identity, Ren Kaitos, a teacher from HEALER Academy. He looks way more relaxed than any teacher Will has met at Schwartz. Will is standing there like he's seen a ghost. One word ringing in his head, mentor. This is a huge reunion for him. We get a glimpse of Will's past life, where Ren was apparently the best healer he ever knew. Having your former teacher as a teammate is some crazy coincidence. Will is reeling from the shock of being in the same party as his old master. He's sweating bullets while Marie and Ren just look at him with confusion. Another student is still stuck inside the carriage. Ren tells teacher to move so he can finally get all his gear out. Marie takes the lead and introduces herself with a polite bow. She says she's Marie Goldgran from Silburn and she's making a great first impression. Turf, a girl with short hair and thick glasses, finally hops down and gives a shy greeting. She looks way more scholarly than a typical field combatant. Marie immediately grabs her hand in a super enthusiastic handshake. Turf is totally caught off guard by the blonde girl's high energy. Marie turns to Will, prompting him to introduce himself. He's still trying to process the fact that his mentor is standing right there. Will manages to shake off the shock and introduces himself as an offensive mage from Schwartz. Turf looks intrigued by the idea of a healer fighting on the front. Ren lets out a big yawn, looking totally bored by the formalities. He tells them it's Ren's group now, and they can pretty much do whatever they want while he watches from the back. Will and Marie start walking off, with Marie commenting on how casual their new supervisor seems. Will knows better under that lazy exterior is an absolute legend. As they walk, Will is having an internal debate about what to call Ren. If Marie calls him master teacher, then maybe he should stick to something more respectful. He works up the courage and asks Ren if it's okay to call him mentor. Ren is clearly surprised by the sudden title. Will gives a clever excuse, saying that since he uses healing magic but doesn't have a teacher as Schwartz, he wants to learn from the best. Smooth move, kid. Ren is intrigued, thinking to himself about an offensive mage who can heal. He's scratching his head like he's just found a very interesting puzzle. He remembers hearing rumors about a weird kid like that. He realizes the school must have intentionally put them in the same group. Ren gives a lazy shrug and says he can call him whatever he wants. Will looks relieved to have that official connection back. Marie is already running ahead with Turf in tow, full of excitement. Will is still following Ren, thinking that if Turf is his teacher, he'll have to call her master teacher too. The whole squad is finally on the move, looking like a surprisingly cohesive team. Will is glad they're getting along so well already. A text box explains the mission. Each party has their own zone, and they'll be using a remote cabin as their base of operations. Time for some real field work. They don't waste any time, heading straight into the thick of goblin territory. Will, Marie, and Ren lead the way while Turf stays back to hold the fort. Will is sprinting through the brush, reflecting on how much things have changed. In his last life, he was a healer who stayed at the base, but now he's charging right for the front lines. Marie is keeping pace, genuinely impressed by Will's bravery. She can't believe a healer is so eager to jump into the middle of the fighting. Ren is trailing behind, looking as relaxed as ever. He tells them he's fine with whatever they do as long as they stay safe. He's not a fan of stuffy formal training anyway. Will gives a determined look, deciding to take Ren up on that and show off some of his real power. They can hear the sounds of enemies moving through the trees nearby. Will stops and points ahead, asking if not holding back means he can go all out. He's itching for a real fight. A group of menacing goblins appears in the shadows, their eyes glowing with hunger. It's officially go time. Marie gives a radiant smile, looking way too happy for someone about to face a pack of monsters. She's finally getting a chance to show Will what she can do. She reaches for the massive weapon strapped to her back. This delicate granddaughter of the headmaster is about to get very violent. Marie charges forward with a massive golden sword that's almost as big as she is. She shouts with all her might, and she definitely isn't kidding. She's a whirlwind of steel, swinging that huge blade around and creating massive slashes of blue energy. Those poor goblins didn't stand a chance. Her footwork is incredible, moving through the field like a dancer while delivering crushing blows. She's not just strong, she's skilled. The dust settles, and Marie is standing proudly on a literal mountain of defeated goblins. Will is just watching from the sidelines with a giant sweat drop, totally floored by her power. He has another quick flashback to the pale, sickly girl she used to be. The contrast is so insane it's almost hard to process. Marie turns back and waves to him with a huge, joyful smile. She's so energetic it's practically glowing. Will is just thinking this girl is a beast, and honestly, he's right. Marie is absolutely tearing it up on the field. Those goblins are getting sliced and diced by those crazy red energy slashes. Will is watching from the sidelines, looking genuinely impressed by her raw power. He notes that every single one of her strikes is packed with a ridiculous amount of force. Marie stops for a second, looking slightly overwhelmed by her own success. She's honestly wondering if she can just solo this entire mission by herself. But then she looks out and realizes the scale of the problem. There is a massive horde of goblins emerging from the shadows, and they look hungry. Will gives a confused look as Ren starts critiquing her style. Ren admits she's strong, but points out that she's leaving way too many openings for a real fight. And right on cue, the goblins surround her, exploiting those exact gaps. She's great at charging forward, but being surrounded is a whole different story. Ren is already taking charge of the squad, ordering Will to cover for Marie while she handles the heavy lifting. Will gives a sharp confirmation, and you can tell he's ready to finally prove himself in the field. Will takes a deep breath, thinking about how long he's waited for this moment. He thinks that finally, he's going to fight monsters, and honestly, the hype is real for his first actual mission. A close-up of a nasty purple goblin baring its teeth and braying for blood. This isn't a school exam anymore. These things are actually trying to eat the students. Will stares down the pack of monsters, noting how formidable they look in person. Even with his past life memories, seeing them face to face is a whole different ballgame. Suddenly, Ren drops a hand on Will's shoulder, catching him completely off guard. He asks if Will is feeling the tension in his shoulders, sounding way too relaxed for a combat situation. Ren gives a cool, brotherly smile and just tells him to relax. This guy's casual attitude is basically a superpower when everyone else is panicking. Will is stunned by how easily Ren can read the room. He looks up at his mentor, realizing he still has a lot to learn about keeping his cool on the battlefield. Will gives a determined yes and thinks back to his previous life. He realizes Ren hasn't changed a bit. He's always been the person who keeps everyone grounded. Time to stop talking and start acting. Will puts his hands together and channels an intricate green magic circle that lights up the entire clearing. He roars physical enhancement as green energy coils around his limbs like electricity. He's overclocking his body just like he did in the selection exam, and it looks epic. He digs his boot into the dirt, green sparks flying as he prepares to launch. This isn't just a dash, it's a high-speed execution. Will vanishes in a blur of gold and green, slicing through multiple goblins before they even know he's there. The speed and precision are absolutely top tier. We get a cool back-to-back shot of Marie and Will as they hold the line together. These two are looking like a professional monster hunting duo already. Marie swings her massive blade, shouting that she's counting on Will to handle the ones over there. Will gives a shaky but determined yes. He's definitely feeling the pressure of her expectations. Will is a whirlwind of motion, weaving through the chaos with a dagger. Ren watches from the back, thinking to himself that this is what fighting with healing magic means. Ren watches the kids work with a proud, slightly lazy expression. He admits they're not bad at all, which is basically a 5-star review coming from a legend like him. The dust settles, and Will is standing amidst a field of defeated goblins. He's pleased to see that his offensive healing style works just as well on monsters as it did on students. Will checks the dagger Professor Veronica gave him, noting its incredible sharpness. It's a huge upgrade from the magic daggers he was borrowing from Opus, who was apparently still crying about it in the background. Marie is practically sparkling with admiration, praising Will's explosive power and brilliant swordsmanship. She thinks Master Will is absolutely wonderful, and honestly, can you blame her? Ren puts his arms around both of them like a proud dad, announcing that's enough work for their first day. He's keeping them on a short leash to make sure they don't burn out. The team starts the long walk back to the base, with Ren leading the way and stretching his arms. He says they should head back, sounding like he's already thinking about dinner. Marie is skipping along, saying she feels weirdly lighter than usual. Will tells her that's all thanks to Ren's subtle support magic. We see a flashback of Ren healing a group of soldiers with a massive, complex magic circle. It's explained that you can usually judge a healer's skill by how severe an injury they can treat. But Ren's real strength is his speed and subtlety. He heals so casually and instantly that most people don't even realize he's used magic at all until they notice their wounds are gone. Will notes that because Ren is so low-key, most non-healers have no idea how legendary he actually is. He remembers asking Ren about his unflashy style in the past. Ren just shrugs it off, saying he can't be bothered with showy stuff. To him, the only thing that matters is that the patient gets healed. Will looks at his mentor with a new sense of respect. He realizes that the world doesn't notice the true greatness standing right in front of them. Ren walks ahead into the sunset looking like a total badass. The narration confirms what Will already knows. The world's greatest healer is Ren Kaitos. Night falls over the remote forest cabin, which looks cozy and peaceful under the stars. It's a rare moment of calm for our group of trainees. The party is sitting around the table enjoying a hearty meal. Ren gives the day a passing grade, which is high praise coming from him. Turf is munching on her soup, noting that since everyone came back without a scratch, she didn't actually have anything to do today. She's taking it pretty easy. Ren serves up a giant pot of Turf's special healing recovery soup, but adds that it includes some of his special spice for extra kick. He tells Turf she did a great job with the prep. He hands a vial of the spice back to a very confused-looking Turf. Ren is acting like a gourmet chef instead of a high-ranking healer. Marie is totally impressed, calling the master teacher amazing. She's surprised at how much he seems to know about the frontline experience. Ren explains that the front lines are where the most injured people are, so you just naturally pick up a ton of knowledge if you're treating them there. He makes it sound like a casual hobby. Turf adds that Ren spends most of his time traveling between different battle sites and triage centers. That's the real reason he's almost never at the academy teaching regular classes. Marie looks worried, asking if going to all those dangerous sites isn't, well, dangerous. Ren just gives a cheeky grin and says he's very confident in his ability to run away. Will eats his soup in silence, but his mind is racing. He knows Ren is being humble, and he knows exactly what kind of hero his mentor really is. He thinks that while Ren says that, he won't run when it comes to saving people. Will looks at the group, realizing the deep bond and selfless nature that defines his teacher. Will stares into his bowl, thinking about the future. He remembers that in his previous life, losing Ren was a catastrophic blow to humanity's survival. We see a vision of Ren in his prime, standing among the flames of a battlefield. He wasn't just a healer, he was a tactical genius who knew exactly how to lead and survive in the middle of a war. Will is deep in thought, realizing that while fate has changed for him, there should still be time before the incident that took Ren's life. He's making a silent promise right now. Ren is happily gobbling down more soup, looking like he hasn't a care in the world. He's the heart of this party, and they don't even know it yet. A close-up of Will's eye as his gaze turns cold and serious. He's officially shifted into protector mode. Will slams his soup bowl down and vows that he absolutely won't let his mentor die. Ren is just amused, laughing and thinking. Will drinks well. The camera pans out from the cabin as sounds of laughter and praise for the master teacher echo into the night. It's a wholesome scene, but things are about to get worse. A huge pile of dead goblins sits rotting in the woods just outside the base. Someone, or something, has been busy while our heroes were eating dinner. A hand holding a glowing red crystal shard appears. Someone says they sense the power of the red moon here. You know this mission just went from training to a nightmare. Suddenly, a massive horde of red-eyed goblins emerges from the shadows, their teeth bared and ready for a feast. They look way more aggressive than the ones they fought today. A giant, clawed monster foot slams onto the grass. Whatever this is, it's definitely not a normal goblin. The silhouette of a massive, winged demon beast with glowing red eyes looms over the forest. The real threat has finally arrived, and our party is still inside the cabin. Talk about a cliffhanger. The next day, our squad is back at it again for some more goblin hunting. Everyone's looking a lot more relaxed after yesterday's easy win, thinking they can finish the whole job by tomorrow. They're busy sharing tips and tricks from the first battle, and you can see their teamwork is really starting to gel. It's like they've finally found their groove as a unit. However, the narration starts, and you just know something is about to go sideways. Will and Marie are looking around the quiet forest with some serious suspicion. Suddenly, Ren stops dead in his tracks. He's got that danger sense tingling, and he tells the group they're turning back immediately. Will is caught off guard by the sudden order, letting out a surprise sound. He knows Ren doesn't joke around when it comes to field instincts. Marie and Will are confused because they haven't seen a single monster all day. They're wondering if Ren has spotted something dangerous hiding in the trees ahead. Ren explains that the opposite is what's worrying him. There are zero signs of life anywhere. Usually, goblins would be swarming all over any outsiders like they did yesterday. He notes that behavior outside their usual habits feels like a major red flag. He's wiping sweat from his forehead, looking genuinely concerned about whatever's lurking nearby. Marie starts to realize that something weird is definitely going on. Ren reminds her that in the field, you always trust your instincts over what your eyes are seeing. He officially calls it a day, telling everyone to head back to base. Better safe than sorry when you're dealing with unpredictable monsters. Marie suggests stopping by Professor Veronica's party's base nearby. She's a good teammate, wanting to check on the others if something really is brewing in the forest. Ren gives a cool smirk, impressed that she's so well informed. He agrees to stop by, hoping to find some answers, or at least some allies. The group starts sprinting through the woods, the atmosphere getting more tense by the second. They're heading for the road near the neighboring base at high speed. Will can't shake the feeling that he's seen this movie before. He's thinking back to his past life and all the signs that preceded the Great Catastrophe. They burst through some thick bushes into a small clearing. A bright glowing light is visible just ahead, and it's definitely not coming from a campfire. Will lets out a startled sound as he takes in the sight. Whatever is waiting for them in that clearing is definitely not a welcome committee. He stares ahead with wide eyes, thinking he knows it can't be, but it looks like his worst-case scenario is unfolding right in front of him. He sees a figure tied to a wooden post in the middle of the field. It's a grisly discovery that brings the whole party to a screeching halt. Close-up of the victim's hands bound tightly with thick rope. This wasn't an accident. It's a deliberate act of cruelty designed to send a message. It's Erica. She's hanging there unconscious and looking pretty rough. Will's expression is one of pure horror as he realizes his friend is being used as bait. A wider shot shows her suspended high up on the pole. The word "before" hangs in the air, hinting that this is just the beginning of a much larger nightmare. Marie doesn't think twice, screaming that she'll save her and charging toward the post. She's acting on pure emotion, which is exactly what a trap setter wants. Suddenly, the ground beneath Marie's boots gives way with a loud crack. The realization of the danger hits her a split second too late. Marie is swallowed whole by a massive pitfall trap. Will screams her name in panic as she vanishes into the dark hole in the earth. Marie is shown falling deep into the dark, spiked pit. It's a classic ambush maneuver that caught even a top student like her completely off guard. She manages to use her massive sword to brace herself against the walls, slowing her fall. She's gritting her teeth, determined not to be taken out this easily. Looking up from the bottom of the trap, Marie shouts that she's fine. The girl is a total warrior, already thinking about how to get back into the fight. Will and Ren stand over the pit, realizing they've been perfectly baited using Erica as a lure. It's a level of tactical planning they didn't expect from simple monsters. Ren shouts that more are coming as a volley of sharp spears flies toward them from the shadows. The trap has officially been sprung. Will draws his dagger and deflects the incoming projectiles in a blur of high-speed motion. He's not letting anything touch his mentor while Marie is stuck in that hole. A giant, hairy monster foot slams down on the grass nearby with a heavy thud. The heavy hitters have finally arrived to finish what the trap started. A literal army of goblins emerges from the trees, surrounding the party on all sides. This isn't just a pack, it's a small battalion of bloodthirsty monsters. Marie is still struggling to climb out of the pit while the goblins close in above her. They've got the high ground, and things are looking very bad for her. Will looks around with a sweat-beaded face, confirming the obvious: they're surrounded. They're in a textbook pincer maneuver with nowhere to run. A top-down shot shows the scale of the ambush. Dozens of monsters have completely circled the remaining party members. They were walked right into the center of the kill zone. Will is disgusted by their coordination, noting that they're cunning and hunting humans like prey. He sees the shadow of the future in their organized movements. Will realizes something is very wrong. The Red Moon influence shouldn't be appearing for another 2 years. His timeline has been completely thrown out the window. He looks over at Erica, relieved to see a small groan showing she's still alive. He's determined to save her no matter what kind of monster army is in his way. Will starts glowing with an intense green aura, his eyes full of fire. He's been training for moments like this, and it's time to show the world his true power. He shouts for the others to leave it to him, standing firm as the monsters close in. He's taking the lead, ready to be the shield for his team. Will activates a massive, complex magic circle beneath his feet. He's combining his high-level plant manipulation with everything he's learned at Schwartz. He commands them to come forth as massive wooden vines erupt from the ground. It's time for some botanical-style backup. 2 huge, muscular wood golems rise from the earth, looking absolutely terrifying. They're ready to show these goblins what happens when you mess with a healer's friends. Will tells Marie she doesn't need to be on the front lines for this one. He's taking the point position with his new leafy bodyguards. He explains the strategy. With the golems holding the line, he can easily exploit any openings the monsters leave. It's a perfect defensive-offensive combo. Marie gets hyped up, charging her massive golden blade with an intense aura. She's not about to let Will have all the fun while she's standing there. She digs her heels in and launches herself forward with explosive speed. The ground literally shatters under the power of her dash. Marie delivers a crushing vertical blow that sends a massive shockwave through the goblin ranks. She's aiming to break their formation in a single, devastating strike. Marie gives a fierce, confident grin, asking the monsters how they like her full power strike. She's totally in her element right now. She's a whirlwind of blue and gold energy, promising to cover any stragglers that try to escape. The girl is a one-woman wrecking crew. Ren gives them a thumbs up and a big smile, shouting nice work to the two of them. Even in a life-or-death battle, the mentor is keeping the team spirit high. Will gives a determined agreement while focusing on his next move. He's finally feeling like he can change the outcome of this tragedy. Suddenly, Will's eyes snap wide open as he senses something massive approaching. He can feel a heavy presence that's on a completely different level than the goblins. He looks around in shock, the atmosphere around them getting incredibly dense and heavy. The real boss of this ambush is about to make its entrance. A close-up of a monstrous, glowing eye peering through the darkness of the trees. Whatever this thing is, it's definitely not here for a friendly chat. A massive, blue-skinned ogre steps into the clearing, towering over our heroes. The goblins were just the appetizer. This is the main course. The ground literally shakes with every step the monster takes. Will realizes with horror that the ogre was hiding underground, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The ogre lets out a deafening roar, its size making the entire party look like ants. Will is stunned by the coordination between such different species. It's a nightmare scenario. Will tries to rush back, but he's blocked by a wall of goblins. He's struggling to close the gap as the giant monster focuses its rage on Marie and Ren. Will screams in desperation that he's too far away and won't make it. He's watching his friends get cornered by a literal mountain of muscle. He has a flashback to his past life, remembering when he was called the world's greatest healer. He realizes that all that title meant nothing if he couldn't stop people from getting hurt in the first place. He realizes that no matter how good a healer you are, You'd need countless lifetimes to truly make a difference without the power to fight. His philosophy is changing right here, right now. Will screams his mentor's name as the ogre winds up a massive glowing fist to crush Ren. It's a terrifying moment where everything seems to be moving in slow motion.